I've been doing email marketing for e-commerce brands for the last 10 years, and I must have sent over 1 million emails at this point. Honestly, making emails and playing pickleball are pretty much the only two things that I do. And after working with hundreds of e-commerce brands, I've noticed that almost all of them make the same mistake. They focus on their emails individually instead of looking at the bigger picture and focusing on the strategy overall. That's why they'll spend hours on YouTube trying to design the perfect looking email, convinced that that's what's going to skyrocket their revenue. But what actually matters is the content of your emails, the timing between them, and how often you actually send them. And I'll be breaking all of that down in this easy to follow course that contains my 10 years of email marketing knowledge. I'll break down the exact system and strategies that we use to help e-commerce brands generate 40, 50, even up to 60% of their revenue coming from email. So if your brand is generating less than 30% of its revenue from email, then this video is by far the most important video that you could watch right now. Because every month that you stay stuck below that number, you're literally losing thousands of customers that you've already paid to acquire. And since this is going to be a fairly long video, since I'm giving away everything, I'm going to be including some timestamps in this video so it's easy for you to follow along. Let's get into it. If I asked you right now how much of your revenue is being attributed to your email channel every single month, would you actually know the answer to that? Well, most brand owners that I talk to either don't know the answer or they say something like 15% and think that's pretty good. Well, it's not bad, but it means you're probably leaving 2 or 3 times more revenue on the table. So let me show you what good actually looks like. The benchmark is 30 to 50% of your total revenue from email. That's what really you should be shooting for. And that's what well-run e-com email programs hit consistently. Most brands are sitting at 10 to 20% and think that's normal. The gap between 15 and 40% is real money that you're leaving on the table. So just to, put this into perspective, you'll see 30 to 50% right here, which is well-run programs, consistent email revenue from optimized campaigns and flows. And then most brands are sitting at 10 to 20%, sometimes even less. Like I've seen 5 to 8% very commonly as well, which is, again, the typical email revenue percentage. Where should that email revenue come from? Well, your email revenue breaks down into 2 buckets, right? There's the flows, automations that run in the background, and then there's also the campaigns, which are the emails that you send manually. So I'd say a healthy split is roughly between 40 to 60% from each. So again, 40 to 60% of revenue from flows and 40 to 60% of revenue from campaigns. And this is obviously going to vary based off the brand and the type of products that you guys offer, and sort of, a lot of different factors that go into it. But if most of your revenue is coming from flows, like let's say over 60% is coming from the flows, then you're probably not emailing your list enough in terms of campaigns. Your automations are doing a lot of the heavy lifting, but you're leaving a lot of money on the table by not staying in front of your subscribers with regular campaigns. If most of your revenue is coming from campaigns, then your flows are probably not pulling its weight. They're probably broken. They might be missing. You might not have the whole, robust infrastructure of flows that you need. You're basically manually hustling for every dollar instead of letting the automations work for you. So the 4 pillars that actually move the needle here, everything else is a distraction until these are dialed in right here. So list growth, deliverability, flows, and campaigns, just to do a quick self-assessment. So if you want to go into your account right now, you can actually see list growth, deliverability, flows, and campaigns. And just to kind of break down my point even further, if you want to actually know what your number is, you're going to go into your Klaviyo dashboard right here, and you'll see on the left side, this is like the total revenue for your store. And you can also break this down by time period. And then this is the attributed revenue. So this account that we're managing is at 57% total revenue being attributed through the email channel, with around 58% of that coming from campaigns and around 41% coming from flows. So this is a very, very healthy split, because if you remember in our earlier slide here, 40 to 60% of revenue from flows and 40 to 60% of revenue from campaigns. Now, what you don't want to see is like 80% of revenue coming from campaigns and 20% from flows, or vice versa, 70 to 80% from flows and only like 20, 30% from campaigns. It means that there's probably one or the other that could use a little bit more love. The first pillar is list growth. So is your pop-up converting at 6% or higher? Are you adding new subscribers every day? If your pop-up is at 2 to 3%, you're losing potential customers before they even enter your ecosystem. Target pop-up conversion rate is 6% plus. Oftentimes you'll see 8, 10, 12% as well. That's a very healthy list growth benchmark. And then an underperforming pop-up, which is very, very common. I've audited tons of accounts. Usually they're at that 2 to 4% mark. So obviously losing a lot of potential customers by not taking advantage of increasing your opt-in rate. Pillar 2 is deliverability. So are your open rates above 40%? When's the last time you cleaned your list? If your open rates are in the 20s or low 30s, your emails might not even be hitting the inbox. It's likely you're probably going to be hitting promotions or spam. So again, 40% plus is a healthy open rate. Your emails are definitely reaching the inbox. And then Again, the 20 to 30% or lower is a big warning sign. Deliverability issues are very, very likely there. Pillar 3 is flows. So you have at least 5 to 7 core flows built out. At minimum, the welcome series, the abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, browse abandonment, post-purchase, and win back. But yeah, these are all the flows at a bare minimum that should be built out. And then lastly, campaigns. Are you sending 2 to 3 campaigns per week consistently, not just when you have a sale? If you only show up when you want something, you're training your list to ignore you, simply put. So 2 to 3 campaigns per week, consistent sending schedule. Again, if you only show up when you want something, you're training your list to ignore you. You definitely don't want to be training your list to ignore you or only train them to only buy something whenever you are running a sale. These are the type of questions that you need to be asking yourself when it comes to, are you making the most out of your email channel? And the biggest benchmark that you are going to see and the biggest KPI that you want to really focus on. Obviously, there's tons of KPIs that you want to focus on when it comes to your email channel, like open rates, click-through rates, conversion rates, opt-in rates, etc. But the biggest benchmark is how much of your overall attributable revenue is coming from the email channel. And these are the questions that you need to ask yourself. So just to recap those questions, is your pop-up converting at 6% or higher? Number 2, are your open rates above 40% in general throughout flows and campaigns? Do you have at least 5 to 7 core flows built out with, and not just built out, I'm talking about built out with like the correct triggers, the correct behaviors, the right number of emails, the right strategy within the emails. Again, these are all outlined in my 126-page playbook. Are you sending 2 to 3 campaigns per week consistently, and not just any campaigns, but 75 to 80% value driving, educational, nurture driving campaigns? The other 20 to 25%, promotional campaigns. If you're doing all those things consistently, then there's probably some other, sort of micro tweaks that are happening. But if you're doing all these things consistently, then, you should be at least bare minimum 30% of your revenue coming from emails. And then, if you're doing even more than that and you really follow everything in that playbook, you should be at, 40 to 50% plus. So that's pretty much what you need to focus on if you really want to make the most out of your email channel and really the benchmark that most e-com brands miss. All right, so this is the LTV Labs $100 million email marketing strategy. And what you'll find here is that we have 4 pillars that we're going to discuss. I'm going to be breaking down each one in detail and exactly how our team likes to approach it. All right, so the first one we're going to start with is list growth. List growth is something that, I speak with a lot of founders about, and something that is definitely underrated when it comes to conversation about email marketing. A lot of founders place importance on flows and campaigns, but really the thing that matters the most and the biggest driver of the performance of these flows and campaigns is the number of people that we're able to actually reach with the emails that we're sending out. Because you could have the best designs, best strategy, best copy on your emails, but if no one's actually getting those emails and you don't have a big enough email list to send that to, then you're not going to be seeing the best possible results that you will be. If you're sending traffic to your site, you're spending money on ads, traffic is regularly coming to your site. How are we capturing those visitors and converting them into email subscribers so that way they can later convert? And the reality is that 98% of visitors won't hand over their email for nothing, right? And I think that's what most brands get wrong, is that they don't realize that they have to have a strong offer. And so a lot of times when I audit accounts, it's usually a pop-up like this that says, sign up today, subscribe to our newsletter for fresh updates and special savings. There's really nothing compelling about this type of pop-up. Like, there's no reason that someone would actually want to leave their email. Like, signing up today and subscribing to newsletter to receive fresh updates just doesn't sound motivating enough. I mean, if I'm someone that's coming to a website and I'm seeing this pop-up, I'm definitely not going to be entering my email. Now compare that to this pop-up where, we're actually giving some sort of like monetary incentive for people to leave their email address. In this case, with this brand called Yay Nuts that we work with, we're offering 10% off your order. We have the enter your email and unlock 10% off. Like, the offer is just nice and big and clear. We're actually giving them a reason to give us their email because they're getting, some sort of savings on their order. And who doesn't love, to save money, right? And so the get 10% off your first order, that for sure will beat anything that says like sign up today to just get some updates and some newsletter updates from you. And so here are some actual pop-ups that can convert. So you can do like a percentage off your first order. You can do a dollar amount off. Like in this example, we did percentage off. You can do a free gift with purchase. So unlock 1 free pair. And then you can also do a mystery discount, which also performs well. So people don't actually know what discount they're going to be receiving until they enter their email. And so it's kind of gamifies the experience a little bit more and builds some intrigue. And so, they're a lot more likely to enter their email if they don't know what they're going to be getting. It could be 10% off, could be 20% off, it could be 50% off. They just don't know until they enter their email. So that's why that's so critical. And so you want to run one offer at a time, see how it performs, and then kind of adjust from there. You don't want to test 2 different offers at the same time, or you don't want to test, an offer and then test that with like a different image. We want to just test one variable at a time. And that's true for really any A/B testing that you're doing. Now, I want to talk about submit rates because I think a lot of brands think that, 3 to 4% submit rate is good. Every brand is different, but I think here's a solid benchmark that we should all be following, having a 6 to 12% submit rate. So if you're below 6% right now, I can tell you for a fact something is off. Could be your offer, could be your timing, could be your design, or even all three. Most of the time, it's really all three. Most of the time, it's like a pop-up that is similar to this, or it says, 10% off, but it's like very, very hidden. And there's no sort of like two-step sort of form, which I'll get into in just a minute. Now, if you're above 12%, you're doing great. Your pop-up is bringing in real subscribers who actually want to hear from you and who will eventually buy. So again, 6 to 12%, if you're somewhere within that range, you're in a healthy spot. If you're below 6%, it's definitely a cause for concern and, should be addressed right away. Now, here's what a high converting pop-up looks like. So this is a pop-up that we did for one of our clients called Fitzgerald Conservatory. First things first, what you'll notice is that we have a very strong offer at the very top saying take 10% off your order. The offer is nice and clear. It's not hidden within lines and lines of text. Or it's not hidden within a paragraph. Straight and clear. The person seeing this knows exactly what they're getting, which is the 10% off. And then we say, but before you move on, please tell us what's your biggest skin concern right now. We're asking them this question, having a multiple choice question. This approach does two powerful things. Number one, it gets them to mentally invest before you ask for anything. And it also triggers commitment bias because when you're asking this question, they have no idea that you're going to ask for their email in the next step. They just think you're just asking them this question. You're going to be getting 10% off without doing anything. Little do they know that in the second step is when we're going to be asking for their email. Depending on what answer they can click on any of these answers. We can actually store that as a profile property on Klaviyo and then later use that zero-party data to later retarget them either through a flow or a campaign that we send out. So we're actually collecting information on the pop-up itself, which is really, really powerful. And like I said earlier, it triggers commitment bias where essentially if someone is committing to answering this question, well, by the time they get to the second question where you're asking them for their email, they're a lot more likely to commit to answering that question because they've already made it this far. They've committed to answering this first question. They're already kind of engaged. They're interacting with your brand. And so if they've already made it that far, they're like, hey, okay, might as well just enter my email. I've already made it this far. Nothing to lose. I'm already getting 10% off. They're a lot more likely to enter. And that's why we've A/B tested doing a two-step pop-up where we ask them the question and we've tested that against just asking them for their email straight up. And we've always found that the two-step pop-up actually outperforms the one-step pop-up. And it's kind of counterintuitive because most people would think that having this additional step kind of increases the friction of the consumer. But again, we found the opposite where people actually feel like they're engaging with the brand and now they want to answer more questions. And, if you're not doing this already, I highly, highly recommend it. And then at the bottom here, we say, no thanks, I'll pay full price. So this forces a moment of conscious decision. It increases the likelihood that they'll pause and consider the offer, likely leading to a consistent lift in opt-in rates. Kind of again playing against psychology, like making them double guess themselves. Like, wait, I don't want to pay full price. I want to get a discount code. Like no one wants to pay full price, right? Before they click this, they're gonna really kind of double think and double guess themselves. And they're just gonna go back and answer the question, enter their email, and that's exactly what we want them to do. And one thing I forgot to mention as well is that we don't have an X button right here. Instead, we just have the no thanks, I'll pay full price. So the only way they can get out of the pop-up is by clicking this no thanks, I'll pay full price. So we're forcing them to actually read this and click it in order to leave the pop-up. And again, that's what helps improve conversion rates over time because they see this, they want to exit out of it. They see this, they double guess themselves and then they just come back to the pop-up, answer the question. And then lastly, just to show some results that we've gotten for some clients using a similar style pop-up, you can see that, this pop-up right here has a 7.9% opt-in rate. You can see that this is considered excellent performance by Klaviyo. This one has a 15% opt-in rate. You can see that this one has 16% submit rate and then a 19% submit rate. You can see the unique views are 2.1 thousand and 2.6 thousand respectively. This one has a 10.2% opt-in rate. These are the type of opt-in rates that we get kind of leveraging the same exact principles that we do, using this style of a pop-up. All right, so the next pillar I'm going to cover is probably everyone's favorite, and that's the flows, right? And the flows are unique in such a way that if you set them up right the first time, they'll keep generating revenue every single day without much maintenance, making your email program one of your hardest working marketing tools, right? And of course, there's different things that you can eventually optimize and A/B test, but for the most part, if you follow the best practices in this video or any of my other videos when it comes to the flows, there's really not too much that needs to be changed, and you're gonna be seeing a lot of revenue generated on autopilot from these flows. And so here's some results of the flows we built for some of our clients. In this screenshot, you can see this brand did $325,000 in total revenue for the month, and 93,000 of that came directly from the flows. So 93,000 out of that 300,000 came from flows. Another 110,000 came from campaigns. This brand did 266,000 in revenue. 82,000 of that came directly from flows. This brand did 323,000 from revenue. All 132,000 of the Klaviyo revenue came directly from the flows because we haven't even touched campaigns yet at this point. This brand did $24 million over the course of 12 months, and 16 million of that came from the flows. So pause this video and just think about that for a second, because these flows were set up just one time. And obviously we did make some tweaks and optimizations, but for the most part, they were set up one time and they continue to bring in revenue for these brands month after month after month without really, any sort of significant input after we've kind of built it out the first time, right? And if you think about it, the reason why that's so significant is because look at these numbers: 93,000, 82,000, 132,000, 16 million. Just in the case of this example right here, this isn't 132,000 from the flows just in 1 month. This is next month, a new 132,000. The month after that, a new 132,000. Month after that, a brand new 132,000. So I don't want you to look at this and be like, oh yeah, 132,000, that's great. Well, no, it's actually a brand new 6 figures that's generated from these flows again and again and again and again, just from setting up these systems one time, and most importantly, doing it the right way that I recommend in this video. By the way, if you want me to run your email marketing on a done for you basis, just click the first link in the description to book a free call with me. We've already done this for over 150 plus e-commerce brands and have generated over $100 million in email revenue. We have also 30 plus client testimonials that you can check out on our site. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning more about your brand and what we can do to help you out with your email marketing. Talk to you soon. All right, so just to go through the welcome series first and foremost, obviously the welcome series is going to be the first flow that people receive when they first opt in to your pop-up form. And so we want to make sure that that first email is 100% perfect from the very beginning. And so the purpose of that first email is to, number one, deliver the promise. We want to have the incentive above the fold, meaning that, if you're offering, X% off on someone's first order, we want to make that offer nice and clear with the call to action button above the fold so that someone doesn't have to scroll, especially on mobile, to be able to click that email and then go to your website so that way they can place an order. We also want to give a short brand introduction that kind of explains who you guys are, what you sell, what mission you're on, etc. So that way people can really feel introduced to the brand in the right way. And then again, we want to have a strong CTA and even multiple CTAs throughout this email. So that way we can remind people about their offer and get them to come back to the website to place their first order. So you can see in this example here, this is an email from Hydrant, a welcome email that says, hey there, ready to get more from your water and for $5 off. And then we have the code with the nice CTA. Question here is, why is Hydrant the best way to hydrate every day? So a little bit more diving into the education. We have a few different flavors that we're mentioning here, and then we have a buy now CTA. In this example, we have a nice to meet you. So we're kind of just like greeting them and welcoming them in. Here's what to expect from our emails. And then we have the 20% off with the code. And then what are you waiting for? Shop now. And then a little, a few benefits relating back to the brand and what they offer here. These are a few great examples of the first email of the welcome series that you guys can model off of. The second email I recommend actually sending 12 hours later, and that's going to be more of like a founder check-in email. And it's going to be a completely plain text email. It's going to have a warm personal tone with the founder's voice, and we're going to be softly reminding them of the discount. And with this email, the reason why it performs so well is because it is plain text. It looks like it's actually written by the founder. The whole purpose of this email is to come off very, very genuine, and we want to make the subscriber feel like the founder literally just hit the compose button on Gmail and is writing an email to a friend. So as you can see in this example right here, it says, hey Siv, we know you just joined our email list a few hours ago. We wanted to send a quick personal note to say thanks. We're the team at Mellow Sleep. We started this company because we were tired of waking up either sweating or shivering every night. Traditional comforters, et cetera, et cetera. That's why we created temperature control comforter. Most people start with our temperature control comforter since it solves the biggest sleep problems we hear about. So basically kind of mentioning product that is a bestseller that people might be interested in. And then if you're planning to check out the site, don't forget your code. And then you can also mention the discount code. And then we're gonna have a CTA here. In this case, we actually mentioned the team. We signed off as the team, but I would say if you have the option to, I would sign off as the founder with like the founder's first and last name. And then underneath, you could say founder of, XYZ brand. That tends to work out a lot better. With this brand, they weren't comfortable using the founder's name, which is totally fine. In that case, if you don't want to use your own name, I highly recommend just saying like, the team or something along those lines. Now, the next email is going to be a brand story plus urgency email. Basically, that's going to be like your last chance discount reminder email. We want to also mention like the founder story. So like why you started the brand, sort of the backstory behind, developing out the product and the problem that you're aiming to solve. And then we want to have like an emotional CTA in this email as well. And here's a couple different really great examples. This is from a brand called Sillygrams, and you can see at the top here, they have a header that says get to know us. There's a picture of the two co-founders here, and there's a kind of a backstory about how they started this brand back in COVID, during the COVID-19 pandemic, how they developed their products in literally their basement. So it kind of gives a little bit of a backstory and helps to build a little bit of trust and give some insight into who the owners are. And then we are mentioning the discounted code again. So ready to get creative, enjoy 10% off your first order, use code welcome10, redeem offer. And for the people that want to just explore the site and maybe they just want to explore bestsellers, we want to have a shop bestseller section right here. So we have different collections that we're featuring in the email. And this is from a brand called Zip Top. Again, it says get to know us more. So, we have a picture of the founder here. The story of us started back in 2019 when Rebecca launched the first Zip Top product. So a little bit of a backstory. We have a CTA. And then another cool thing too is like if your brand is featured in the press, like if you guys have won any awards or been featured in any like significant well-known magazines, you can even feature that in the email, and that helps to build even more social proof and trust. And then again, another CTA. So CTAs are also really, really important across all the emails that you guys do. And then a day later, we're gonna send email number 4. So this is a really interesting concept because we wanna focus on our social proof and pain points, right? We wanna kind of go back and understand like why are people interested in your brand and your products in the first place? Why did people even sign up? So we wanna, in that case, call out common pain points. We want to match each pain point with the review, and we want to reinforce trust. So the whole purpose of this email is to build trust and really hone in on the pain points that people might be going through. And so again, with this email right here by Yum Earth, they say what our fans say about our treats. And then they have very, very specific reviews. Like it's hard to live life without food allergies, but Yum Earth makes it much more sweet. I found these and said, what the heck, let's try them. They are better than Skittles, according to my 7-year-old. The best gummy bears I've ever had, hands down. My 5-year-old son is picky about fruit snacks and he loves these fruit snacks. So basically just, hammering, really good, powerful reviews that you might have. And then obviously the CTA button with the discount code and then the footer. Now, if we go down, we're gonna have the best seller spotlight. So here's where you want to be focusing on featuring your best selling product. If you have multiple products, you might have 1, maybe 2 SKUs that are like your ultimate like breadwinners in terms of revenue. So you want to focus on just that product and you want to explain why it's a bestseller in detail, right? And with this email too, I always recommend incorporating some customer reviews to make it even more compelling. But overall, this whole purpose of this email should be focusing on the bestsellers. And then one day later, we're going to send a final urgency email, right? So it's going to be a plain text email from the founder. It's going to be with the discount slightly upgraded. So, if you're offering 10% off on the discount code, originally, maybe we can bump this up to 15%. Or if you're offering 15%, you can bump it up to 20%. We just want to kind of upgrade the discount because if they go through this flow, this entire flow at this point, and they still haven't made a purchase yet, then perhaps increasing the discount slightly can kind of get them over the edge. But in this email, we want to have a hard 24-hour deadline on that discount, and we want to have one really strong, compelling CTA. And so with this email, it says, hey, Siv, the final 24 hours, and I wanted to tell you why this matters. Vishal and I were kids. Our mom made us these drinks. Years later, we finally got it. Your founder code gets you 15% off, but expires tomorrow at midnight. This isn't just a discount, it's honoring the recipes that raised us. Ready to taste what our moms always knew worked, and then claim your 15% off CTA link directly back to the site. And then cheers, Parit Patak, founder of Jungly. So again, this is like the kind of founder sign off that you want to have. And this email absolutely crushes it, right? Because people are going through this entire flow, they haven't purchased yet. Now they're hearing again from the founder with the plain text email, and their discount code is being upgraded. They're going to be a lot more likely to convert once they see this email. So because the welcome series is so impactful, any sort of A/B test that you run is obviously going to have a huge impact because of the sheer amount of traffic that's coming into the flow. I want to just kind of go over some high leverage A/B tests that you can run on your welcome series. So one thing I want to kind of preface this with is that every brand is different. And so what worked for one might not work for another. That's why testing is non-negotiable. A couple different things that you can test is the welcome offer format and the offer itself, such as, dollar off discounts versus percentage-based discounts versus free shipping versus maybe a free gift with order, maybe even, a mystery style discount, that sort of thing. Different offers can work different for different brands. So it's important to test that out. Subject lines and preview text within the welcome series, send delay between emails, text-based versus graphic-based emails, which products you feature within the emails, and also linking to a product page versus a collection. These are all, various elements that you can test that over time can make a pretty significant impact, especially if you have a lot of traffic that's getting into the welcome series. That kind of wraps it up. So we have 6 emails total, and Typically, the welcome series is going to have more emails than, your other standard flow emails. And that's because we really want to take that time and opportunity to nurture and indoctrinate people into the brand and show them, number one, who we are, what we stand for, why our products matter, and why customers love shopping with us. By the way, if you want to go even deeper on these email marketing pillars and actually see real examples of high converting designs that we've built for our clients, well, I've put together a free document called the Email Revenue Playbook. It's 126 pages long of literally everything I've learned in the last 10 years of doing this. And it contains all the strategies that we've used across hundreds of brands that we've worked with. And I'm giving it away completely for free. The link is in the description. So with the site abandonment flow, right, we have the first email. We're going to be triggering this 2 hours after someone is active on your site. So if someone is coming to your website and 2 hours go by and they haven't made any further action, like they haven't viewed a product, they haven't added to cart, they haven't started a checkout, they definitely haven't made a purchase. Well, then 2 hours later after that, we're going to be sending them this first email. And I like to kind of call this the mini homepage email, because at this point they've just looked at your website. They haven't actually browsed any specific products. So we want to kind of take the whole website approach and put that into an email. So you can see with this specific brand that we work with, they're called Beach Ball, and they have a variety of different flavors on their homepage. These are kind of their hero flavors right here, like strawberry hibiscus, white peach, and grapefruit basil mint. So without singling out any specific product, we want to kind of reintroduce people back into the flavors that were originally on, the homepage of their website. And you can even see the copy here itself says, our organic iced teas are all about that natural, refreshing boost, packed with vitamins plus antioxidants, minus the sugar crash drama. So why not dive back in, grab a pack, and join the beach ball party? So it's kind of like light, fun copy. And then we have the main flavors that are already featured on the homepage. So again, this is kind of a mini homepage. We want to have the hero section featuring bestsellers, which we are, bold direct headline, and then again, clear CTA buttons throughout the email. So in the second email, we want to send that around 1 day later. I like to do 22 hours later, so it's a full 24 hours since they've been active on site. And this one, again, I like to do a plain text email again, because it establishes trust, kind of cuts through the noise on the inbox, and it humanizes the brand as well, because with this day and age, there's so many brands out there that just send very, very heavily graphically designed emails with tons of images. And so we want to kind of humanize the brand in a way and cut through the noise by having plain text emails written by the founder, right? So plain text from the founder's name. We want to have a warm personal intro and also a friendly CTA. You can see in this example, it says, we started Exhibitive because I believe art should transform spaces, not just fill them. I know choosing art for your space is deeply personal. If you need help finding the right collection or have any questions about our pieces, just hit reply. I'd love to help you create something amazing. So this line in general is just so powerful, because it's actually showing that the founder cares about your journey with the brand and your shopping experience, right? If you're having any trouble finding anything, or if you have any questions, the founder is there to help you out, which is really, really meaningful, because, lots of brands out there, they just don't care enough. Like they're just huge corporations that won't reach out to you personally like the founder would. So yeah, we sign off as Marcel. P.S. Personally, I'm loving the Nora collection lately. So we're even having a recommendation from the founder in the P.S. line. The sophisticated monochromatic aesthetic works beautifully in any space while making a real statement. Most collectors find it's the perfect starting point. So just a gentle suggestion at the end here, but overall, this is a really, really compelling site abandonment email that's not really pushy in terms of sales, but just gently nudging them back to come back to the website and continue browsing. Now, let's say someone is on your site, they view a product, or maybe even view multiple products, but they leave your site without actually adding to cart or initiating a checkout. The thing is, this isn't a casual visitor. They actively sought out a specific product, which means that their intent is much higher than someone that just abandons your website. The browse abandonment flow is your critical point to re-engage them at that exact point of interest. With the browse abandonment flow, I recommend having 3 emails total. So 2 hours after someone views a product, right, they're going to be getting this first email. Really, the purpose of the first email is just to give them a gentle reminder of the exact product that they viewed. So we want to have a dynamic product block. So on Klaviyo, you're actually able to have a dynamic product block, so we can show people the exact product that they are viewing on your site when they left. We want to have a friendly reminder headline and then a clear CTA. So this is a perfect example of an email that says, these products look pretty nifty, huh? We have a nice hero image with the different products that they offer. They look even better on your skin. Check these products out and join thousands of other men who also made a great decision. So we have, some social proof there, plus a CTA button. And then this is the dynamic block that I'm referring to. So this is the product that someone was viewing, but then they left because they didn't add to cart. We have the price right here. We have another CTA that says add to cart. So if they click this button, they'll be taken back to the product page where then they can actually add to cart. And we have some value points right here, like vegan, cruelty-free, sustainable, all natural. And and then the footer. So that's the first email of the browse abandonment. Again, we're not doing any crazy hard selling here, right? Like we're just saying, hey, letting you know that we know that you left this behind and wanted to give you a gentle reminder to come back and, resume where you left off. Second email, we're going to be focusing on social proof. So we want to kind of incorporate some relatable social proof and testimonials that people can really resonate with. Another thing that I like to do is like FOMO driven copy. So like basically FOMO is the fear of missing out. So we want to make people feel like they are missing out on the benefits of the product and just the benefits of being part of the buyer community if they don't make a purchase. And then also just layering in some trust signals as well, 5-star reviews, any sort of, credibility that you guys have, etc. And that's kind of the whole goal of this email. So the social proof email, it's going to be the whole purpose of email number 2. So I actually recommend on the last email of the browse abandonment flow that you do the same exact offer that you're offering on the welcome series, but just change the discount code to something fresh. So that way people feel like they're getting a brand new offer, even though that, the code is the same. So we're going to be using a new discount code, but if you're offering, let's say 15% off on the welcome series, I recommend also doing 15% off on this last email of the browse abandonment. We want to use urgency driven copy. And again, we want to have a dynamic product block, which by the way, we want to have dynamic product blocks throughout all of these browse abandonment emails. And one more thing I also wanted to mention here as well is that obviously with the discount code, we don't want to mention any sort of discount codes in the first couple of emails because realistically, like people are abandoning the product page or even their cart because they just genuinely got distracted. So we don't want to give them a discount code prematurely if they would have came back and bought something at full price anyways. So that's the strategic reason why we're intentionally leaving out the discount code on the first couple of emails. And we're intentionally leaving the discount code on the last email because if a couple days have gone by since they viewed a product and they've already received 2 emails reminding them and they still haven't purchased yet, then price could likely be an issue and a valid objection on why they didn't purchase yet. And so that's the reason why we're saving the discount and we're playing that card in the last email of the sequence. And we've seen that, saving that discount for the last email of the sequence tends to work really, really well. Now, these next 2 flows are called the cart abandonment and the checkout abandonment. I've audited hundreds of Klaviyo accounts at this point, and I can tell you for a fact that 90% of brands don't have the abandoned cart set up, and a lot of people aren't even aware that the abandoned cart trigger even exists. To be clear, the cart abandonment is when someone clicks the add to cart button and adds an item to their cart but doesn't initiate checkout, whereas the abandoned checkout is when someone actually clicks the initiate checkout button but then doesn't complete a purchase. So for the abandoned checkout specifically, what this means is that someone viewed a product, they added that item to their cart, they even initiated a checkout, but then something distracted them and they never finished their purchase. And these people were just inches away from buying. The sale is literally right there, and the only job that you have at this point is to figure out what stopped them from actually purchasing and making it as easy as possible for them to finish their purchase. And if you go into the Klaviyo account and you're on the left side here, you go to the metrics section right here, and you'll see all the different metrics right here on the left. So you'll see like active on site, added to cart, added to cart. The one that Klaviyo's old version of this is this added to cart with the gear icon. But ideally you want to use the Shopify one because it just tends to track everything better. It tends to integrate better with Klaviyo. And so you want to have this added to cart metric right here show up on the metric side of things. And if you don't already have this, most brands don't actually have this from the beginning. So if you don't already have this, what you're going to be doing is going to integrations and then navigate over to Shopify. And obviously this is if you're using a Shopify store. And then you're going to click on add viewed products. If this isn't already checked, you're going to be clicking this, and then you're also going to be tracking behavioral events. So this is things like card updates, which is what we want. So you're going to make sure both of those are checked. There's probably going to be a link right here instead of edit. I already have this set up for this account, so it's not going to be going to the actual theme page. But if you don't already have this set up, you're going to be able to click both of these. It's going to take you to your theme editor, and you're just going to click on publish on the Klaviyo app embed, and then publish it again. Once you have that, the added cart metric should show up. And if it doesn't, I'm happy to take a look into this for you. You can just send me an email, siv@ltv-labs.com. I can obviously take a look at this for you for free and set everything up. But yeah, that should work in terms of setting up the added cart metric. And so just to confirm, once you've set that up, go ahead and refresh the page. And if you go to metrics, it should show up added cart metric right here. And there should be activity that's showing once you actually click onto that. So basically, once you have that, it's basically going to be tracking when people are adding items to their cart, just like they would, track, browsing specific products or initiating checkout, et cetera, et cetera. So for the abandoned cart and the abandoned checkout, we're going to have a total of 4 emails that we're going to be doing. And so the first email is going to be sent exactly 30 minutes after they abandon their cart or checkout. And the biggest mistake I see across many brands that I audit is that the time delay is just simply too long between when someone actually abandons and when they receive the first email. Oftentimes I see brands waiting 2, 3, 4 hours. And if you wait that long, then you're probably going to be losing a lot of interest from these, customers or potential customers that are, abandoning your cart, because literally every 10 to 15 minutes that goes by after someone abandons, they're just going to be losing more and more and more interest. And so I've actually A/B tested this very, very heavily. And I found that 30 minutes against, even 1 hour or an hour and a half tends to be the outperformer out of all the time delays. So the amount of time that we like to wait, again, is 30 minutes. And the first email is just going to be a gentle reminder. So similar to the browse abandonment that I already explained, we don't want to go too heavily into hard selling here. We just want to gently remind them and nudge them that they left an item in their cart. As always, we want to have a dynamic product block showing them the exact product that they were abandoning on their cart or checkout. And we want to have a gentle nudge, no pressure, like I said. And we want to have one clear CTA button in this email. For the abandoned cart specifically, the CTAs are going to link directly back to the cart page. And for the abandoned checkout, Klaviyo actually has the ability to get their entire checkout page loaded. So that way, when they click that CTA button, it'll go directly back to the checkout page with all the items that they were checking out on. And so, yeah, we want to make sure that we are leading people exactly back to where they dropped off in the funnel. So if they dropped off on the product page, we're leading them back to the exact product page that they dropped off. If they dropped off on the cart page, we're leading them back to the cart page. If they dropped off at the checkout page, we're leading them back to the checkout page. And the benefit of the checkout page is obviously we're going to be able to, have all the different items that they left behind. So it's going to be a lot more relevant, and it's going to be a lot more likely for them to actually move forward and make a purchase. Email number 2 is going to be sent exactly 1 day later. So we're going to have a social proof email. So again, this is going to be all focused on social proof. We want to have customer testimonials, dynamic product tables, and a clear, reassuring CTA. So in this email here, you can see that we have a nice hero text that says you left some fur behind. But don't worry, plenty of wild wares are waiting for you. Come back and finish what you started. So very, very simple body copy there. We have your cart. Again, this is a dynamic product block. We're showing them an image of the product that they were viewing, or the product in this case that they were abandoning the cart or checkout for. We're showing them the title of the product, the price, and the quantity, and then we have a CTA to shop now. Again, if they click this, it should link to the cart page or the checkout page, depending on which flow you're working on. And underneath that, we have some other options that they can look at. So we got you covered. Join the pack and embrace your wild side with your new wild coat goods. And these are all really, really popular collections. In case they maybe are no longer interested in this product, at least they have the option to click on any of these collections right here. And then again, like I said, we want to focus on the social proof in this email. If you guys have the ability to actually showcase images of customers wearing the product or using the product, that's going to be a lot, more compelling than just a plain text review. And so in this case, we have both, right? We have the image of someone, we have the person's name, we have 5 stars. We actually have the text part of the review right here. And then we have the same thing for all of these here, right here as well. So again, this is probably the best style of a review that you can do. If you're able to have someone's image of someone wearing or using or somehow showing off the product, that's gonna be the best style of review that you can have. So email number 3 is we're gonna start to introduce a discount. What I like to do and what I've seen to work really, really well these days is using a mystery style discount. I like to do a mystery discount hook with urgency messaging and have a casual, fun tone. So the way that I like to kind of structure this is let's say that you're willing to offer 20% off to your customers on the abandoned checkout. What if we just say you can get up to 40% off, but in reality, they're going to be getting 20% off. Let's say they're going to get up to 40% off by entering the code mystery at checkout. And so what'll happen there is that they're going to be super intrigued and excited because they might think that, I might get up to 40% off, but the only way that for me to know that is to actually go to your checkout page and actually, enter the mystery code and see what I get. With this email right here, you can see, what's your secret discount? We've got something special hidden just for you, but you'll have to check it out to see it. Up to 40% off with code mystery. And then if they click on reveal your discount, it's going to take them to the checkout page. They're going to enter the code mystery. And although they're not going to be getting 40% off, they're still going to be getting 20% off. And once they see that reduction in the subtotal, even at 20%, which is pretty significant, they're going to be a lot more likely to just, jump over the hurdle and convert just because they're already on the checkout page. They're already seeing a pretty massive reduction in the subtotal. This basically kind of sparks curiosity because again, they might think that they're getting, 25, 30, 35, even up to 40%, but they have to go to the checkout to enter their discount to know that. So we've seen this type of email work really, really well. So I highly encourage, you test this for your brand as well. And then 1 day later, we're going to have the founder's last chance. So we're going to be using the same exact offer that we used for email number 3. And we're going to be implementing that as a founder plain text email. And remember, we're only saving these discounts for the last, 30 third and fourth email of this flow, notice how we're not, implementing any discounts in the first couple of emails. So this last email basically says like, hey, it's Danielle from XYZ brand. Life gets busy, but this one's too good to miss. Your code can unlock anywhere from 20 to 40% off our raw coconut oil. We rarely offer discounts this steep, so it's perfect time to stock up. The key here is that we're using the language up to 40% off. We're not saying that they're gonna unlock 40% off. It just says your code can unlock anywhere from 20 to 40% off. But again, the discount code can be whatever you want. Just pop mystery in at checkout and your savings will reveal themselves. We have a CTA button, and then with gratitude, founder's name, and then the brand name. 4 total emails here. The discount gets introduced in the third email, and then we have a plain text email lastly to just, close the sale basically. Now, I've noticed that most brands make the sale and then just immediately move on. That's a huge mistake. Right after someone buys is actually when they're most engaged with your brand. They just pulled out their credit card and handed you their money. They're excited, they're paying attention, and they're waiting to feel good about that decision. That window is your chance to squash any buyer's remorse, build loyalty, and you can kind of look at it as if you're planting a seed for the next purchase before the excitement fades. This is where the customer post-purchase flow plays a big role. So for the new customer post-purchase flow, we're gonna be having 4 emails here. And the first email is pretty common, right? It's just a founder thank you. With this email, we really just want to give genuine gratitude. We want to ease buyer's remorse and really just make customers feel like they made an awesome decision shopping with you. And we want to look at ways that we can also offer support as well. So if anyone has any questions in the meantime while they're waiting for their order, we want to make customers feel like they can reach out to us still, and they, if they have any questions at all. 1 day later, we're going to send email number 2. That's commonly where we want to kind of set some expectations and also talk about the mission that we're on. So as far as expectation goes, like talking about when they can expect to, receive their order, how long shipping usually takes, when they can expect to receive tracking if they can. Again, like I said, we want to talk about the mission that the brand is on as well. And so for example, with this, you can see, your purchase creates impact. So like fair trade support, feeding children, sustainable practices, medical grade mission, that sort of thing. So if there's like any specific like goals or missions that the brand has, it's the perfect place to kind of implement it as someone is engaged as a buyer with your company. We just want to give tons of gratitude and reassurance, really just make customers again feel like they made a great buying decision shopping with you compared to other competitors. And then 3 days later, we can have like a product education email. This kind of goes in hand with like if there's any sort of use cases for your product or recipes or different ways that people, customers out there use the product. We can kind of educate people about that. The tone here is really just going to be really helpful and supportive. You can see with this brand right here, it's like a cocktail company that we work with. We basically say like 1 bottle, endless possibilities, try these cocktail recipes. And so we're linking them basically to like a blog article with like tons of different recipes that they can use based off of this like cocktail concoction that they bought. And another note, by the way, is like, you can play around with the time delays. Like these time delays are nothing that, that is set in stone. You might have to play around with your time delays based on like when your shipping times are and like when orders are planned to be delivered. There's no hard rule for this, but I like to generally start with like, 3-day time delay here. And then as we go into this other email, we have a 10-day time delay. This is the email where we like to check in and ask for a review. So again, like I said, you might want to play around with this time delay here because we want to give enough time for someone to actually receive the product, use the product, and form an opinion about the product. And so we want to kind of ask like a check-in question. We want to softly ask for the review, and maybe even have an adjacent product recommendation. So, with this brand Nori, what they do is like, they say, loving your wrinkle-free wardrobe. And then we have 5 stars. We'd love to hear all about the steamy details. So notice how the copy kind of is on brand as well. Leave us a review and receive 10% off your next purchase. And then spill. So this spill is gonna link them to a page where they can leave reviews. We have a nice hero image at the top. Let's talk about the ironing board in the room. And we have another CTA button where they can leave a review. Again, it's a very, very simple email where we're just gently asking them for a review. And by the time you send this email, again, we wanna make sure that you have enough of a time delay. So it could be 10 days, 14 days, 21 days, depending on your shipping times, where someone can actually receive the email, use the product, and have enough time to actually see if the product works for them. And then we can, safely ask for a review. Now, let's say a customer hasn't purchased in around 60 days or so. Most brands would just write them off and just never reach out to them again. But here's the thing, if they bought once and they never came back, well, they're not lost. It just means that they forgot that you exist. That's exactly what the customer win-back flow is for. It's your nudge to remind them why they bought in the first place and give them a reason to actually come back. Because instead of pouring putting all of your time and energy into chasing new customers, you should be going after the customers who already trusted you enough to buy. Fun fact, it actually costs 5 to 25 times more to acquire a new customer than to keep an existing one. And the probability of selling again to an existing customer is around 60 to 70%. That's not a small difference. That's where the smart money goes. All right, so for the customer win back flow, this is a very, very important flow in terms of customer retention. So the first email, we want to wait about 60 to 75 days. Again, this is going to be dependent on like your buying life cycle and sort of your customer behavior. So you can play around and even A/B test the time delays, but just for the sake of example, we have a 75-day time delay here between when someone places an order and then the time goes by and they never place an order again after that. So email number 1 is basically just going to be a friendly check-in and just acknowledgement that, we miss them and that they haven't really been active with the brand in a while, which is true because trigger for this is they've placed an order, but they haven't placed an order since they've placed that first order. And then we also want to, kind of mention an incentive. Usually with the customer win back flows, an incentive is really, really powerful because it gets people and it motivates people to place another order right away. And we want to have a clear CTA here. So in this example here, you can see with this brand Wooflore that we work with, we have a nice hero image right at the top right here. We have some text that says, hey, first name, been a while. So we wanted to drop you a line to say we miss you. Plus we've got an exclusive 15% off your next portrait. Treat your furry friends to another portrait because you can never have too many portraits of your bestie. Notice how the copy is like nice and fun. Or share this offer with another pet parent so they can also treat their babies to something they'll cherish forever. This offer is valid for the next 3 days. So we have some urgency baked in here. So grab it while you still can. And then we have like a cutout of the discount code, CTA button, and then also some other product recommendations. So it's a great opportunity in this email to show, other collections that you might have because they might have purchased something from one collection, but they might not be aware of, other collections that you might have on your site. That's kind of the purpose of this email here. And then about 10 days later, we have email number 2. So email number 2 is going to be focused on social proof and reminding them of the discount code. What I also recommend here is just suggesting some popular products as well. So in this email, you can see that, it's been a while. We haven't forgotten about your furry friend's health. So we have a discount reminder, save 10% off with code COMEBACK and cue the tail wags and extra kisses. Some social proof emails right here. This is actually a GIF, which is really cool. So we can actually rotate through different different reviews from different customers. And we have a shop now CTA, and you can see this email is like super on brand, super colorful. This is the vibe that we really want to go for across all the emails in general. And then lastly, we have the last email of the customer win back. This is a founder plain text email. So it's a founder's final notice. We want to have an urgent reminder of the discount code that we just talked about. And we want to have gratitude for their past support, right? We have to remember like these are previous customers that have bought from us. So we want to kind of thank them for, being part of the community and just being on our email list as well for this long. So this is like an example that I created for Gymshark specifically. So this email says, hi, Michelle, Ben here from Gymshark. I wanted to reach out personally before your $20 off returning customer code expires tonight. I've been thinking a lot about why people join our community in the first place. It's not just the gear, it's what it represents. Taking care of yourself, showing up, finding that spark again when life gets heavy or busy. You're part of that journey with us once, and I haven't forgotten that. So again, kind of reminding them and showing gratitude for the past. If you've been meaning to get back into your routine or grab something that helps you feel good in the gym again, your code 20FIT is active until midnight. After that, it switches off. Again, we're instilling some urgency here. Either way, thank you for being part of what we've built. Come back strong. So it's not just a shop now CTA, it's actually a really compelling emotional CTA here that we're using. And then we're signing off as the founder, Ben Francis, founder Gymshark. And then we have a PS section at the bottom that says, if you want suggestions based on how you train, just hit reply. I'm happy to help. So as you can see, the pattern across all these different emails is that we have tons of social proof. We have dynamic blocks where necessary on the browse abandonment, abandoned cart, abandoned checkout. And most importantly, we're also using some plain text emails to, again, humanize the brand, build trust, cut through the noise, and really just make customers feel like there's someone behind the brand that genuinely cares about their experience. And if we're able to nail all of this, that's how you're gonna be able to get the most out of your flows. And so the next pillar is deliverability. The whole premise of this is that you can write the perfect email, the best subject line, beautiful design, unbeatable offer, but none of that matters if the email is landing in spam because no one's really checking their spam folder. All the effort that you're putting into building that email just goes to waste, right? And so the whole objective is to get your emails out of spam and getting it into the primary inbox. So also important to just go over a few common reasons why emails go into spam in the first place. Number one, there's no domain authentication. So this is like SPF, DKIM, DMARC records. These are records basically that every domain should have to show email service providers that you guys are a legitimate sender. And so this is something that's actually set up in the back end of Klaviyo. So that's the first step, authenticating your domain. Unengaged subscribers, so dead email addresses. There's a lot of people probably sitting on your email list right now that are likely to never engage with your brand, and they're just kind of dead weight. They're just hurting your deliverability and increasing your Klaviyo bill. Really important to remove them every month. High bounce rates, so invalid addresses, which are signaling poor list quality. For example, people could be putting in really fake email addresses on your newsletter sign up form, and that could be, immediately bouncing them, and that sends a negative feedback loop to your email service providers. Spam complaints, so people marking your emails as spam. Spammy content like too many links and bad subject lines, and maybe just sending too much too fast, right? If you're a brand new company that has a brand new domain and an IP address, you haven't properly warmed it up by having the right flows in place, that could be a very, very negative sign as well. Just sending too many emails too quickly, just never a good sign to these major email service providers. So here's how to check if you actually have a problem, right? The warning signs and the symptoms of having a deliverability issue and spam issue is that if your open rates are below 15 to 20%, this is for both flows and the campaigns. Second thing is if you have a sudden drop in open rates, you test your own emails, like you send emails to yourself and they're landing in spam. You have high bounce rates above 2%, and you have spam complaint rates above 0.1%, right? So in order to check this, you want to go to settings, analytics, and then deliverability in Klaviyo. Again, right here, you go to settings, analytics, and then you just go navigate over to deliverability to see what that looks like. And ideally you have, a score above 80% according to Klaviyo. So fix number one, setting up your sending domain. So we're going to be going into Shopify right here. We're going to be navigating over to the domains. And we're going to be going over right here to these three dots. So we're going to look at three dots right here, and then we're going to go to edit DNS settings. And so now we're in this section here where we're able to actually add some custom records. So these are all the different types of records we could add. When you go into Klaviyo, you're going to navigate over to your account. And once you get into the settings, you're going to go into domains. And once you're in domains, you'll see a section at the very top. Yeah, you'll see a section at the very top that says branded email sending domain. So you're going to click on add domain. And that just means that if you see this message, it just means that you don't already have your private sending domain set up. You're going to click on add domain. And I'm going to just type in the root domain. This should just be like your brand's normal root domain. You're going to click next, and then you're going to type in your sending domain. I always like to use the word send. So it's going to be send.yourdomain.com. And then you're going to click next. And then it says add a DMARC record to your domain. So if you don't have your private sending domain set up, you likely also don't have your DMARC record set up either. So you're going to click on add DMARC record and make sure that this is checked. You're going to click next and then click set up manually, click next. And so Klaviyo is actually going to give you all of these different sections here. It's going to say the type of record that you're going to set up, the name of the record, and the value of the record. So I'm just going to go through each of these one by one. There's a total of 5 separate records here. So there's 3 CNAME records and 2 TXT records. So first one is a CNAME. So I'm just going to copy this. So you can easily copy this just by clicking the button. So you're going to go back into your domains, add custom record. The first one is a CNAME record, just like it says right here. The name is send. So I'm going to copy that in. And then under the points to, you're going to type in the value. So I'm going to type in that, and I'm going to click confirm. And it should say DNS record successfully added. I'm going to go through each of these one by one. So the next one is KL1._domain key. That's also a CNAME record. Then you got to also type in and copy the value. Hit confirm. Next one is the last CNAME record. So add custom record. KL2 domain key, and then copy this into the points to, confirm. Now this one's going to be a TXT, so this is going to be an @ symbol. So what I'll do is I'll go to add custom record, TXT record. If this @ symbol is already there, that just means that's the default, so you don't need to add another @ symbol there. But for the TXT value, you're going to copy that and put that into here. Hit confirm. Name can't be blank. Okay, so I guess you do have to put the @ Go ahead and put that in, hit confirm. That should be good to go. And then the last one is the DMARC record. So with that DMARC record, that's also going to be a TXT record. It's going to be _DMARC. And then you're going to copy the value into the TXT value and hit confirm. Cool. So now just to confirm, we have KL1, KL2, which is correlated with these two. And then we should also see the send and then this long value right here under the CNAMEs. Send, yeah. So all 3 of the CNAMEs and then the TXT records. We have the DMARC record, and then we also have the Klaviyo site verification record. Now, what I'm going to do is, so all of these should have already been saved. So if you navigate back into Klaviyo, you're just going to verify that you have all of these. So you're going to click on the verify button next, and it should say your records are verifying. You can close this page. So typically, it gets done pretty instantly, like the verification, but sometimes it can take like an hour, sometimes even longer. So click finish and then come back to it. So it says has been configured successfully and is being verified. So just give it a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page to see if it's verified. Cool. And then it says verified right now. And then it says the domain is ready to activate for email sending. So I'm going to go ahead and click activate. And you have to type in I understand. Hit activate. And so if your private sending domain is set up successfully, if you go into domains, you'll see your domain name. It should say send.yourdomain.com, whatever your domain is. And then the status should be active. So once that's set up, then you're good to go. So basically, once that's all set up, you're going to be navigating over to Klaviyo and just making sure that everything is set up properly. Typically, it takes maybe 5 minutes or so, and you're just going to go ahead and verify the domain. So basically, why this matters is that it proves to email providers that you are legitimate, right? And so without this, you're sending from a shared Klaviyo domain if you don't already have this set up. And the downsides of sending with a shared Klaviyo domain is that you're sharing your email addresses, and you're sending you're sharing your IP address with a bunch of different other people that are using Klaviyo. And that's not a good thing, because there's people out there that are using Klaviyo and other brands that have a very, very negative reputation and poor deliverability. And by sharing your IP address and your domain with them, not domain, but your IP address with them, that's going to negatively affect your deliverability as well as a byproduct, right? So it's going to be very easy to get flagged if you share a domain. So it's common best practice to set up your own private sending domain, and you want to do that as soon as possible if you already haven't. So fix number 2 is setting up domain authentication. So the 3 records that you need are the SPF records. So this tells email providers that Klaviyo is allowed to send on your behalf. The DKIM record adds a digital signature proving the email is from you. And the DMARC signature tells providers what to do if authentication fails, right? Klaviyo walks you through all 3, so you don't want to skip it. Specifically the SPF and DKIM records, that's for sure going to be provided by Klaviyo. The DMARC record should be provided by Klaviyo, but if it isn't, then I already have, like in that video that I've shown you, how to set up the DMARC record as well. But yeah, the DMARC record is also really important because it tells providers what to do if authentication fails. Again, you want to set up all 3. You don't need to get, too into the weeds about like the technical details of all 3 of these, but just set it up the way that Klaviyo shows it to you when you go into this section right here, and you should be good to go. So fix number 3 is that you want to clean your list. So you want to remove these dead subscribers that kill deliverability, right? So just a few examples are removing unengaged subscribers, no opens or clicks in the 90 to 120 day range. You want to remove invalid emails because they're going to be bouncing, and that's going to send a very negative feedback loop to major email service providers. You want to remove never engaged profiles, people that have received 5 to 15 emails, but they've opened none of them. And then spam complainers as well, people that mark your emails as spam. The reason why list cleaning matters so much, number 1, the obvious benefit, lowers your bill immediately. So you're stopping paying for profiles that will never convert into customers. Number 2, it actually improves deliverability as well. So fewer sends to dead emails equals better sender reputation. Because if you think about it, affinity to the brand, they're just not interested in the brand or the emails any longer. Well, then as a byproduct of that, we're then emailing only the people that are actually engaged. And that's going to send a positive feedback loop to these major email service providers, Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, et cetera, basically telling them like, hey, our brand is a legitimate sender because we're sending emails and people are actually opening and clicking them. So it's a very, very positive signal here that we're only sending to very engaged profiles as opposed to these dead emails. And as a result of that, obviously, like I said, we have higher open rates and click rates. Your metrics look better when you're only sending to engaged subscribers, obviously. And then more accurate data for decision making. So clean data leads to better insights and smarter marketing decisions. And so all these different benefits overall kind of encapsulate the benefit of cleaning your list once a month. And yeah, now at this point, I'm going to go into Klaviyo. I'm actually going to show you the 3 segments. So there's 3 segments that I recommend that every brand suppresses from their Klaviyo account once a month. And there's actually 3 bonus segments. And these bonus segments are a little bit more aggressive. I wouldn't recommend every brand does this, but if you have a ton of people on your list, like over, 70, 80, 90, 100,000 plus, it might be worth it to consider also suppressing these 3 bonus segments that I'm going to be going over. But first things first, I'm going to be going over the 3 main segments that I want you to suppress every single month, no matter what. And so what these segments are is going to be the sunset suppression. So this first segment is going to be the sunset suppression. I'm going to go through the definition of all of these as well. So if you go into edit definition, what the property is that unengaged to is true. So if I actually navigate over into the sunset flow here, you'll see that we have flow that's set up. So whenever basically someone enters an unengaged segment, so if they've received 15 emails over the last 90 to 120 days and they haven't engaged with any of them, they're going to be put into an unengaged segment, which is this segment right here. and they're going to be they're going to be put into this flow called the sunset flow, and they're going to be sent this email basically saying, hey, are you still interested? What's going on? We haven't heard from you, that sort of thing. And so the idea is that we want to try to, it's kind of like a last minute kind of re-engagement attempt to see if they're still interested in staying on the list. And if they're not, we're going to be sending them this email. And if they still haven't opened or clicked the email, it's a pretty confident signal that they're just no longer interested, and we're very, very confident about removing them at this point. And so what we'll do is we'll create a profile property, which is very easy to do. You can just drag this over to wait 3 days, obviously give them some time to open it, but then drag this over, and you're gonna create a profile property called unengaged, and you're gonna set it as a Boolean property. So if you go navigate here, you can go create new property, unengaged. I just put unengaged 2 just for a better naming convention, but unengaged 2, make sure this is Boolean and make sure this is true. And so every time someone goes through this flow and they still haven't engaged, Klaviyo is going to automatically tag them as unengaged, basically as their profile property. And so going back into the flows here, let me navigate over, going into the listen segments actually. If I go into the starred segments here, so going back into this, the sunset suppression is basically everyone that has been tagged as unengaged 2 is true, and they're still eligible to receive email marketing. You'll see the total number of profiles populate right here. And so that's a segment that you should definitely be getting rid of every single month. First of all, you obviously have to set up the flow. I'll create a separate video about how to set up a sunset unengaged flow, but that's a segment that you want to be removing every single month. So that's segment number 1. Segment number 2 is inactivity, right? So inactivity, what this means is, and you can, feel free to copy this directly and build this yourself on your Klaviyo account. I'm going to walk through the definition of what this means. But basically, if someone can receive email marketing, they're still eligible to receive email marketing. They were created at least 180 days ago. So these are profiles that were created at least 6 months ago. So they're, considered to be pretty old profiles on your account. They were created at least 180 days ago. With this segment, we're not going to be looking at anyone newer than the past 6 months. So this keeps it even more accurate in terms of people that we should be removing. And they've received an email at least once in the last 72 weeks, and they've opened an email 0 times in the last 72 weeks, where Apple privacy open is false. So that way we're also removing bot emails as well, especially if a lot of times with Apple privacy open, emails just get opened automatically. So where Apple privacy open is false, and clicked email 0 times in the last 72 weeks, active on site 0 times in the last 72 weeks, and viewed products 0 times in the last 72 weeks, and checkout started 0 times in the last 72 weeks. And they've also placed an order 0 times in the last 72 weeks. So basically, they've essentially shown no activity in the last 72 weeks, and they are at least 6 months old. We're creating a segment around this, and then all the profiles that get populated here, just go ahead and suppress them. This is actually a segment that Klaviyo recommended about a year ago. In order to really clean your list, they recommended that you set up the segment exactly in this way. And so that's kind of where I got the inspiration to create this from. And the next one is never active profile. So this is one that I came up with myself. Basically, the idea is that people have received an email at least 20 over all time. If you want to get a little bit more aggressive with this, you can do they've received at least 10 emails over all time, but I like to just say 20 just to be extra sure. So they've received at least 20 emails over all time, and they've opened the email 0 times over all time, clicked an email 0 times over all time, and they've also placed an order 0 times over all time as well, and they're obviously still eligible to receive email marketing. So basically this is saying, they've received many, many emails from your brand, like more emails than you probably should send with your brand, but they still have not opened, clicked, engaged, bought your product, anything like that. So it's very, very unlikely that they're magically just going to start, after the 20 emails are sent, that every email after that, they're magically just going to start opening and engaging with your emails and buying right away. So this is a segment that should be definitely removed right away. So going back into listen segments, right? These are the 3 segments that I highly, highly recommend. Every single month, these are just going to be populated on autopilot. You don't need to worry about creating the segments over and over again. All you need to do is once a month, you go into your listen segments. I like to star it so I can have easier access to it. Go into the listen segments, and you simply just hit the 3 dots right here, and you hit suppress current members. Obviously, make sure that it's suppressing the current members. It's the right segment that it's suppressing. You obviously don't want to suppress people that are engaged. What you'll do is you'll just hit bulk suppress. It might take probably about 10 to 20 minutes for this to set back to 0. But basically what this is going to do is it's going to suppress all the members in here, and that is going to lower the number of active profiles that are inside your Klaviyo account. If you check back on this 30 minutes from now, this should be back to zero. And this is something that you want to do every single month, because over the course of a month, new profiles are being added to the segments because the segments are dynamic. So new people are being added, new people are being taken out, et cetera, et cetera. But every month, safe to say that you can just remove those. Now, there's 3 bonus segments that I also want to go over as well. And so, this is if you really, really want to be aggressive. I would say, if you have 75,000 plus profiles on your account and you haven't cleaned it in a long time and you want to take a huge hack into like really just cleaning your list, these are 3 bonus segments that I would definitely create and suppress right away as well. Especially, if you have 75,000 plus people on your Klaviyo account, your Klaviyo bill is likely going to be very, very high. And so it's probably worth it just to take that additional aggressive measure and also create these 3 segments as well. So I'm going to go over each of these 3. The first one's going to be the zombie segment. So the zombie segment is going to be people that have a profile that was created at least 120 days ago. We don't want to look at anyone newer than that, just because we want to give a little bit of grace for those people. And they've opened an email at least once in the last 90 days. So there's some level of engagement because they've opened an email at least once, but they have clicked an email 0 times over all time. They have not been active on site over all time. They've placed an order 0 times over all time, and they're still eligible to receive email marketing. You guys will probably see a lot of people being populated in this segment. I highly would recommend removing this segment as well, or just suppressing this segment as well, because these people have been on your list for 4 months. And, if you're sending emails, 2 to 3 times a week, which you should be, they have plenty of opportunity to, obviously they've opened an email, but they have plenty of opportunity to at least click an email or place an order, right? Or even be active on your website, let alone the email side of things. So this is a segment that I would definitely recommend removing to be a little bit more aggressive. The next one is going to be old, never bought profiles. So the definition of this is that they were created at least 2 years ago. So these are, very, very old profiles. This would be useful if your brand has been around for a long time, you have huge customer base that you've developed over the years. Let's say that these profiles have been created at least 2 years ago, so 720 days, but they've placed an order 0 times over all time. So they've been, literally part of your brand's ecosystem for 2 whole years, and they've still never placed an order. I mean, that's a pretty, confident sign that, you should remove them, because they haven't placed 1 order at all. You would expect them to place at least 1. It's, it's possible, but it's not likely that they will, place an order all of a sudden after 2 years. So really with the list cleaning, we're kind of playing more on the probability side of things, like the risk versus reward, right? The risk is obviously that we remove profiles that maybe still that have a potential to convert. That's a risk. But then the reward side of things is that we're removing these profiles and we're saving a ton of money on Klaviyo. We're taking a very calculated risk here. And based off of my experience and my knowledge, we're much better off just removing these profiles, because that's going to have, us removing the profiles and improving deliverability and saving costs is going to have a much more higher benefit, or a much more higher likelihood than, all of a sudden just converting and engaging with the emails. And so it's a very, very calculated risk. And we really just want to focus on the profiles that are engaged. And obviously you always, as a brand, want to be focusing on getting new traffic and focusing on the top of funnel, so we can, make sure we're nurturing them and keeping them engaged. So yeah, much better to just remove these profiles and be done with it. Now, last bonus segment is no revenue plus no activity in the last 120 days. So if I go to edit definition here, so these people were created at least 4 months ago, at least 120 days ago, and they've placed an order 0 times over all time. They've been active on your website 0 times in the last 120 days. They've opened an email 0 times in the last 120 days. They've clicked an email 0 times in the last 120 days, but they're still eligible to receive email marketing. So just to summarize this, right? They've been on your email list for 4 months, right? They've placed 0 orders over all time. They haven't even been active on site. They haven't opened an email. They haven't clicked an email. All of this considering that you should be, sending at least 2 emails per week to your engaged lists. And engaged lists, these are people that are in the segment, right? Because, if you're sending emails to your engaged list, these people should definitely be on your segment, in that segment. So these people have never opened or clicked an email in the last 120 days. So these people can definitely be removed as well. So yeah, you'll notice a lot of people being, put into the zombies and the old never bought profiles. This one tends to be a little bit lower. And again, there's always going to be overlap between each and every single one of these segments as well, because it's very possible that someone that's never bought before and they're 2 years old, they're likely going to be in maybe like a zombie segment, for example, or even inactivity as well. So main point, you want to remove these profiles every single month, because number 1, it's going to improve deliverability. Number 2, it's going to save you Klaviyo cost every single month. And like I said, we saved one of our clients $3,000 per month, and we're still seeing very, very productive engagement from the profiles that we're actually keeping. So yeah, hope this was helpful. Feel free to literally just watch this video over and over again and look at all of the different definitions that I've set up and just build it directly in your account. And again, I recommend performing this list cleaning at least once a month. That's the third thing that you're going to do is clean your email list. Fourth thing is that you're going to send to engaged subscribers first, right? So best practice for every campaign is you want to create an engaged segment. So these are people that opened or clicked in the last 30 to 60 days. Now, I would recommend this specifically if you are seeing deliverability issues. I would start with the last 30 to 60 days. So let me navigate over back into the list and segments, and then let me type in engaged. Cool. So this is the engaged L120 segment. So in general, I'd recommend sending emails, like a majority of your campaign emails, to people that have engaged with your emails in the last 90 to 120 days. But if you are seeing very, very low open rates, like 15, 20%, 25, 30% open rates even, I'd recommend sending to the last 30 to 60 days instead of 120, right? So just to show you what this 120 segment even means, these are people that have placed an order at least 120 days. They've opened an email at least once, or they've opened an email at least once in the last 120 days, or they've clicked an email, or they've subscribed to list at least once in the last 40 days, or they've been active on your website in the last 40 days as well, and they can receive email marketing. So the only difference that I would change here is just changing this to 30 instead of 120. So this would change to 30, this would change to 30, this would change to 30. Typically for the subscribe to list and active on site, since it's not showing as much engagement as like opening or clicking an email or placing an order, I like to do about a third of whatever the window is. So in this case, it's 40, but if you're doing last 30-day window, I would change this to 10. So they subscribe to list or they've been active on your site in the last 10 days, and leave this the same, right? You want to make sure that they're still eligible to receive email marketing from your brand. But yeah, I would change this to the engaged 30 to 60 days and start to send emails to that list. And like once you start to see good engagement there, and what I consider good engagement is like on your campaigns, 40% plus engagement, right? No lower than 40%. Otherwise, you need to continue sending to that lower window of like 30 to 60 days. But once you start to send campaigns to these segments, what you'll notice is that your open rates are going to slowly start to climb from maybe 30% to 35 to 40, 45, 50. And as your open rate starts to get better and better, you also want to expand your window, right? So instead of sending to the last 30 to 60 days, maybe you want to try sending to the last 90 days and last 120 days, because we're building that reputation up. We're building that credibility up with Yahoo, Gmail, Hotmail, etc. And the goal is to eventually be able to send to more people, right? We don't want to just only send to the last 30-day engagers, because that's going to be a very small pool of people. We want to take advantage of sending to as many people as possible, but we also obviously want to make sure that deliverability is in check. So what I recommend is sending to the last 30 to 60 days and then expanding from there. By the way, if you want the extended version of this document, then go ahead and click the link down below and grab my 126-page email revenue playbook. It's completely free and has a full breakdown of all the flows that we typically build, a visual flow chart with all the correct time delays between each of the emails, and tons of high converting design examples that we've actually used ourselves for some of the brands that we work with. It's literally everything that I've learned personally over the last 10 years of doing this and working with hundreds of e-commerce brands. Way more detailed than I could fit into one single video. Click the link down below to grab it. Fix number 5 is you want to warm up new domains and IPs. So if you just set up a new domain, you definitely don't want to blast your full list immediately. You want to kind of gradually increase volume over the course of 2 to 4 weeks or even more. So if you're sending, like, what I would recommend if you have a brand new domain is, first of all, you want to get those core flows set up, right? The flows are going to have the biggest engagement, highest open rates and click-through rates. That's going to be your welcome series, your abandoned checkout, your browse abandonment, your site abandonment, etc. A lot of people are going to be going through these flows every single day. And so as we're going through these flows, people are going to be engaging with them, right? A lot of people are going to be opening that first, second email of the welcome series. A ton of people are going to be clicking that first, second email of the abandoned checkout. So you want to have those flows set up, because that's going to help boost your open rates and your click-through rates and have that positive feedback loop with major email service providers. And then also when you start to send campaigns, you don't want to send, 3, 4, 5 campaigns a week to start with. Maybe you only want to send maybe one campaign a week or one campaign every couple of weeks, just to kind of get used to that. Let your domain and let Yahoo, Gmail get used to sending with that frequency. And then from there, you can start to slowly expand and build that reputation up. And ideally, you want to get to a point where all your flows are built out and you're sending like 2 to 3 campaigns per week with 40, 50, 60% open rates plus. And it's definitely possible to get there if you do it right. But if you have a brand new domain, or if you just haven't emailed your list in a long time, the last thing you want to do is to start blasting your emails immediately to your entire list as well, because that's gonna be a huge red flag to these major email service providers as well. Fix number 6 is avoiding spammy content. So there are a few things that Gmail, Yahoo, and these other service providers definitely flag when they get your emails. Certain things are like all caps subject lines. That's just a very, very negative type of thing. Like, you definitely don't want to do all caps on your subject lines. It's just not a good look either for your customers. Not a very professional look to do that. You don't want to put excessive exclamation marks. Maybe you can do 1 or 2, but you don't want to do 3, 4, 5 exclamation points. Spammy words like free, act now, limited time. I mean, you can use these once in a while, but you don't want to do it for like every single email, because then it's going to seem like, that it's not actually true. It just seems like it just seems like very, very gimmicky in a way. You don't want to have too many links or images in the email. You don't want to have image only emails with no text. Sometimes you can do that, but like in general, you do want to have some text. You don't want to just have purely images. And you don't want to have any misleading subject lines as well. I've seen this from so many brands where, they have like subject lines that say regarding your order number, 3, 4, 5, 6, but no one's even ordered before, but they're just sending that email so you can click on that email. It's going to lead to a lot of pissed off people and a lot of people unsubscribing from your list. So in general, like in terms of your emails, you want to keep it clean and you want to keep it balanced. It's all about keeping it balanced, and that's what's going to win the email game in the long term, right? Fix number 7 leading into that is you want to make unsubscribing as easy as possible. So this is kind of counterintuitive, right? But it's important, because if people can't see the unsubscribe button, they're going to just mark you as spam, right? And spam complaints are going to hurt you way more than unsubscribes. And so if people want to unsubscribe, just let them unsubscribe and just focus on the people that are actually engaged with your emails. So you always want to have a clear unsubscribe link in your emails, typically at the very bottom of your emails. You want to have it nice and big and clear. And obviously you don't want to hide it or make it difficult either. Fix number 8 is you want to monitor your metrics, right? These are things that you want to check in Klaviyo regularly. So for flows, right, you want to have a 30% plus open rates, ideally even higher than that. As I mentioned, 40% plus for campaigns. And you want to have less than a 2% bounce rate when it comes to your emails as well, less than a 0.1% spam complaint rate, and less than a 0.5% unsubscribe rate, right? So spam complaint rate, you want to keep that under 0.1%, and unsubscribe rate under 0.5%, which is considered healthy. If any of these spike, you want to investigate this immediately and figure out why that's happening. And so that way you can figure out how to prevent that issue from happening in the future. Because again, the entire email foundation is based off of deliverability. And if your deliverability is not in check, then people just aren't going to be receiving your emails, and, all of your time and energy, spent on creating, great looking content and copy, it's just all going to be wasted, right? So last but not least, the deliverability checklist. Before every send, you want to confirm a few things, right? Your sending domain is verified, which we already walked through, but I have a video on that, which I'll link in the description. SPF, DKIM, DMARC are set up. That kind of ties into the sending domain as well. You're sending to engaged segments only. So people that have a history of engaging with your emails or your brand in the last 30, 60, 90, 120 days. You want to make sure your subject lines aren't spammy. You want to have a good text to image ratio, and you want to make sure that unsubscribe link is visible, right? So some key takeaways, right? Set up and verify your sending domain. That's non-negotiable. Authenticate with SPF, DKIM, DMARC, clean your list regularly, send to engage subscribers first, avoid spammy content, and monitor your metrics. Honestly, if you just nail those things, it's very, very easy to do. If you just nail those things, you're going to keep your deliverability in check, and you're going to be making the most out of all the emails that you actually create for your brand. And so the last pillar I want to cover is the campaigns. And I think a lot of brands don't focus enough on campaigns. They just think once they have the flows in place, that's it for their email marketing strategy. They don't have to do anything else. Well, the benefit that campaigns can provide is that now with the, you're obviously sending traffic through ads and, other means, but the campaigns are going to bring in more additional targeted traffic, right? So if you're sending campaigns out, which is just like a one-off targeted send to either a segment or engage list, etc., well, then you can bring in additional email traffic to your site. And if they don't convert directly from the email campaign that you send out, well, then guess what? They're going to be put through those other flows that we've built out. And so campaigns are a way to get kind of immediate, quick revenue. The biggest mistake that I see is that either number one, brands are sending too few campaigns, or they're sending campaigns regularly, but that without any sort of clear strategy. And so for example, in the case where, brands are sending too few campaigns, if competitors are emailing consistently and you're not, they tend to stay top of mind while your brand fades into the background. In crowded markets, especially these days where there's a lot of e-commerce brands popping up, that visibility gap matters a lot. I've spoken with a lot of e-commerce founders, and one of the most common things I hear from them is that they're a little too scared to send too many emails to their list in fear of annoying them or in fear of them unsubscribing from their email list. And I would agree with that point if most of those emails are promotions, sales, discounts, etc. But if you're sending 2 to 3 campaigns per week that are a mix of value-driven emails and some promotions here and there, then your subscribers actually want to hear from you. You're actually doing them a disservice by not emailing them more. Another common thing that I hear too is that founders just simply don't have the time to sit down and, write the copy and do the design for an email. And because of that, these founders don't send emails out regularly, which is costing them a lot of revenue every single month. Overall, it just kind of comes down to the same thing. They don't have the time, so they don't send regularly. But once we increase their email volume with the right type of content, then their campaign performance significantly improved. And you can see on my screen right here with this brand, before they started working with us, they were sending about one campaign per month, maybe one campaign every 2 months. And that's again because the founder was just super busy and didn't have the time to, send out emails on his own. And as a result, obviously their campaign performance suffered. But as you can see, in the last 12 months alone, we started sending out maybe one campaign a week, started doing two campaigns, then three campaigns a week, and slowly started to ramp that up. And you can see their campaign revenue is around 1.1 million over the last 12 months. And, that just goes to show how important it is to send campaigns at the right volume, but also the right type of content as well. The last mistake is sending without clear strategy. So bombarding your audience without clear intent, and that leads to list fatigue and high unsubscribe rates. That's ultimately going to tarnish your brand's reputation. And, people are just going to have a negative connotation with your brand when they think of you. And that's, the last thing that you'd want. You want to be able to send emails that are, educational, beneficial, etc. So here's what my team and I found works best, right? Again, like I said, sending 2 to 3 campaigns per week, enough to drive consistent revenue without burning out your list, but also keeping you top of mind without being annoying, right? We found, and this is after years and years and years of testing, sending 2 to 3 campaigns per week and doing it consistently is going to be the sweet spot in the Goldilocks zone of sending campaigns. Secondly, in order of the strategy of these campaigns, we want to send out 75% educational emails and 25% promotional emails. This balance keeps your list engaged and drives sales, often at full price, because when you're not constantly discounting, your offer actually means something. I've seen so many brands where they've trained their customers to only buy something whenever they offer a discount code, and at that point, it's just too late to recover from that, right? You can't just go back from sending discounts all the time to never sending a discount again, because now your list is totally trained to only buy something whenever you have a discount code, and you're very, very unlikely to recover from that. And so again, you want to have value-driven content, helpful tips, benefits, brand story, new products, et cetera, et cetera. That's kind of the approach and the mindset that you want to have when it comes to developing out a solid campaign calendar every month. The next thing is sending between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. You want to start with the 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. window. That's when we've seen the highest engagement, the highest open rates, highest click-through rates, because people just tend to be more engaged in the morning as their day is getting started, when they're on their lunch breaks, as they're commuting to work, et cetera. You want to just track your open and click rates though and see how it performs for your brand, because again, every brand is different. 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. might work well for most brands, but for your brand, maybe, afternoon 4 or 5 p.m. works better, or maybe late at night 9 to 10 p.m. works better. Maybe just test different send times to see what works best for you, and let your audience guide you. And you can even run some A/B test on Klaviyo when you send campaigns. You can even A/B test, a 9 a.m. send time with a 2 p.m. send time, or 2 p.m. versus 8 p.m. Again, you want to test, one variable at a time. So don't test subject lines alongside send times. You want to just test, one or the other. So this is a campaign for Magic Spoon. Basically, you can see that they have a nice headline at the top, which is actually a review. This cereal is so amazingly crunchy. They have a nice CTA button that says Get Fiber Cereal. Just their branding in general, right? You can see that Magic Spoon is just a very, very colorful and playful brand. And you can see that they have a nice image of their products and their cereals at the top. And they have 3 different reviews with the 5-star ratings and the quotations, and another CTA, happiness 100% guarantee. So this is a really, really powerful social proof email, I would say. And, another, example that you can use for your brand as well is to have, social proof email sprinkled out throughout your content calendar, because the biggest reasons why people don't buy, one of the biggest reasons why people don't buy is they don't trust the brand enough. And, maybe they don't think that you're a legitimate company, or maybe they think that, maybe the product isn't a good fit for them. So seeing reviews of other, like-minded people that are actually talking about the product and talking about their experience, that goes a really, really long way to get people to convert. And I'm pretty confident that this email specifically absolutely crushed it for them. Here's an example of a high converting promotional email from Megababe. You can see they have a nice hero image right here with a headline that says today only, score 40% off, a Megababe team pick. Latouche, you can see that they have the hero image right here. Another testimonial right here that says, I would bathe myself in Latouche if I could. This mask is so insanely luxurious. Kirsten, director of marketing. What we love about Latouche, and then kind of dives into the benefits of the product specifically. I love that they have an image of the Latouche product with someone's fingers dipping into it, so you can actually see the texture of the product, and so it gets people to kind of get into the mindset of okay, this is what the product would feel like and look like when I receive it. Very, very colorful, playful email, really great copy and textures and CTAs and things like that throughout the email. So again, this is a great email email, both of these emails are great to model off of when it comes to promotions and also social proof review emails. And so here's lastly 50 campaign ideas that you can steal so you can never run out of content. Now, one of the common things I hear with a lot of e-commerce brands is that they know how important it is to send campaigns out regularly, but they just don't know what to send. And I totally get that. And so I came up with 50 campaign ideas that you can steal so you never run out of content to send to your list, right? And I actually broke it down by categories here so you can actually see we have product and education, we have engagement and interactive, we have social proof and community, sales and promotions, brand and storytelling, curated and roundup. So just to kind of name a few, product and education, you can do like a product spotlight, collection spotlight, how to use, product education, tips and tricks. So just to show you an example of this in real time, right? So this brand right here is doing an email that focuses on 3 effortless ways that moms are styling Margot, which is one of their best-selling products here. And you can see it's nice and featured up at the very top, but then more importantly in the body copy, we're focusing on providing value to the user and like letting them know, hey, these are different ways that you can use and wear our products. So number 1, obviously the throw on and go. Number 2, cozy but intentional. Number 3, elevated at home, worn loose and easy while nursing, lounging, or working from the couch. Same pieces, different days. And so you can see they even offer or they even showcase different colors that they offer as well. And so this is a great value-based email because someone might be viewing this product, but they might be thinking to themselves, oh, like when am I ever going to wear this, right? If you also notice too, there's no discount code that's offered, and this email itself has generated over $500 in revenue. You can do an engagement interactive, so you can do an in-email quiz, survey, riddle, ask me anything like a founder Q&A. For social proof and community, you can do customer reviews, UGC content, before and afters. As another example of a value-driven email, you can also focus on social proof. So for example, with this email, it says, okay, but why is everyone obsessed with Venice? And we have a nice call to action button. We have an image of the product. And we say there's a reason why Venice quietly replaces every bra in your drawer. Moms keep telling us the same thing. Usually after they've worn it for a full day and realize something strange happened. They didn't think about their bra at all. Here's the tea. And we have some 5-star reviews, actual images of people wearing the product. So just a pro tip, if you guys feature reviews in your emails, try your best to actually feature actual images of people using, wearing the product, etc. That's gonna go a long way to actually build trust. You can see that we have 5 stars here as well. So Melon approved, image of the person wearing the product, the best nursing sports bra I've tried, 5 stars, excellent running bra, 5 stars. And so this one itself is actually a detailed review as well. Yeah, you can see that we have like a product section right here that kind of focuses on the different Venice options that this brand offers. And again, another call to action button and also some benefits down at the bottom as well. Sales and promotions, you can do flash sale, holiday sale, back in stock, almost sold out, free shipping threshold reminder. For brand and storytelling, you can do a note from the founder, brand values, behind the scenes, us versus them, why we started, meet the team, and then curated roundup. So bestsellers, staff favorites, trending products, monthly roundup, blog content recap. There's so many different ideas that you'll never run out of it. And yeah, you should never have an excuse of not knowing what to send because there's so many different, concepts and ideas that you can send out to your list that is actually, providing value and education and nurturing people and building trust with them that doesn't always rely on giving them a discount. For example, one of the campaigns that we're planning to launch next month is for a brand that was featured on Shark Tank. They were on the actual show. The founder was actually on the show. They were featured on Shark Tank probably several years ago, but a lot of the new subscribers and the new customers that they're getting over the last couple of years aren't even aware of that. And so we're going to be doing a campaign just to kind of reintroduce the concept of, this brand being featured on Shark Tank, showing, videos of it, pictures of it, their experience being on the show. And that kind of will help instill trust even further with these new subscribers and new customers that are coming in. And it also just kind of goes to show like that this brand is actually legitimate and people are investing in it and people actually trust the brand. And so yeah, really exciting campaign that we're going to be doing for them as well. The first thing I'm going to do is navigate over to the campaign section of one of our accounts right now. And let's say, this LTV gift guide campaign is a campaign that's really, really important for us. It's important for us to kind of show our audience what the gift guide looks like, what's included in the gift guide, especially, towards the holiday season where this campaign is the most important. We want to make sure that we are resending this campaign because we're only sending this campaign once otherwise. And so we want to make sure we're resending this campaign to make sure that we're capturing people that might have, received the email, but they haven't opened the email yet, or obviously clicked the email either. And so we want to resend this campaign. So, let's say this gift guide, obviously this gift guide resulted in over $1,000 in revenue. So it is a pretty high performing campaign for this account specifically. And so now we want to resend that campaign out to people that didn't open it. So really the first step in order to do that is we're going to navigate over to the 3 dots right here next to the campaign. and we're gonna click copy campaign ID. So now we have the campaign ID, and basically what the campaign ID is, it's like a series of letters and numbers that is able to show us exactly which campaign we are referring to. We're gonna create a new tab, open link in a new tab for the list and segments. And what we'll do is we'll create a new segment here, and we'll just title this Gift Guide Non-Openers. So then what we'll go ahead and do is under the definition, we'll put what someone has done, and we'll say receive the email at least once over all time, and we'll add the filter. So again, as you just saw, we just copied the the campaign ID. So what that campaign ID is basically the message. So we want to create a segment of people that received this email at least once, where this campaign equals, and we'll just copy this, and you'll see after you paste it, you'll see the campaign come up, gift guide. And so you just click this, and then we want to create an and condition, because we want to target people that have received the email but didn't open the email. That's really the key. So we'll create an and condition, what someone has done, and then we'll say open the email. Here we want to put 0 times. So receive the email at least once, but open the email 0 times over all time. And then we want to put add a filter where the message equals this. And then obviously we want to only target people that are not suppressed. So we can say another and condition could be someone can receive email marketing, so they're eligible to receive email marketing. And then you can just X out of the because someone subscribed. And yeah, that's it. So gift guide non-openers, received email at least once over all time, where message equals this campaign specifically. Again, this campaign can vary. Whatever campaign that you feel like is worthy of resending, you can decide that for yourself as a brand. But typically what we'd recommend is to, send a resend out to people that are receiving promotions or, new product launches, et cetera, but haven't really opened that email, because that is a very, very important email that you definitely want people to see. So message equals that, and then add open email 0 times overall time, where message equals this. And the reason why we're not putting clicked email 0 times is because, in order for someone to click an email, they'd first have to open it, obviously. So that's the reason why we're leaving that logic out. So really the main thing is opening the email 0 times, and then someone can receive an email. And so we'll just hit create segment. And so as you can see, we have 5,000 people on this email list, 5,000 people that have received the email but haven't opened the email. And so this is a pretty significant number of people. And you can obviously see what the benefit would be is if we send this campaign again to this 5,000 size email segment, then we're more likely to have even more revenue beyond beyond the 1,700 that we produced in the first email. So now you can see why this is so important. And again, you can even create an additional, after you send this campaign, you can even set up another resend. But I wouldn't recommend going over 2 or 3 beyond that. But 2 or 3 resends would be, a great place to kind of start at and see if you can juice out additional revenue for these promotions and for these, new product launches and whatnot. But yeah, this is a very, very powerful strategy that you can directly implement. And one other thing that I'd recommend as well is, for this gift guide, the subject line was just in your Black Friday gift guide. What I'd also highly recommend is that on the resend campaign, you switch up the subject line to something completely different, because someone might have already seen that email in their inbox with that exact same subject line, although they didn't open the email. But we don't want to send that exact same email with the exact same subject line, because then it's going to seem like it's the exact same email we sent earlier. We want to make it seem like it's a completely different email. And the way that we're able to do that is by switching the subject line up to something else, even though the content is the same. But the person doesn't know that until they actually open the email. And it's likely that if they receive this resend email, they're unlikely to open the first email that they received, but they'll probably open the second email that they received. So again, I would recommend 1 additional resend, max of 2 resends. I wouldn't go beyond that. And then I would also switch up the subject line on each additional resend that you do. And the last thing that I'd also mention here as well is that you don't want to use a resend on every single campaign that you do. You want to use this very, very strategically, because over time, if you continue resending to people that have a history of receiving emails but they're not really opening emails from you, then that can obviously hurt deliverability on your account in the long run. So we don't want to create a pattern of sending to people that are that are consistently not opening your emails. We want to use it very, very strategically on very, very important emails. So maybe do this once, twice a month max when you guys are running promotions. Again, new product launches, company announcements, any type of email that for a fact should be performing really, really well in terms of revenue, or just a very important update that you want to send for your brand. That's when it'll be the most important to send this resend campaign. So this is a type of strategy here that we use often to juice out additional revenue, because for example, in the past, we've launched campaigns for clients that have produced maybe $3,000 in revenue, but then it would have only stayed at $3,000 if we didn't send any additional campaigns. But then we send additional second campaign or maybe even a third campaign. And overall, so it's not only $3,000 in revenue, but overall across those two or three campaigns, we were able to generate like over $6,000 or $7,000. So we really just kind of maximizing the potential of one particular promotion or offer or campaign by sending it to people that maybe they got busy, or maybe they just didn't happen to see it in their inbox, or maybe it just got buried in their inbox. And so this allows that opportunity to do that. All right, so the first thing that you want to do, and this is really the first step to making sure that we're injecting the correct campaign emails back into some of our flow emails, is you want to navigate over to the campaign section of your account. Now, this is where all the campaigns that you've previously launched out are going to be hosted on. You'll be able to see everything from the campaign title to the performance to the revenue, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm in one of our accounts right now. The next step is you want to kind of navigate over to the last 90 days time period, just so that way we can kind of see a bigger picture of all the campaigns that we've launched in the last 3 months, just to really identify the best performing ones. So after you've gone ahead and done that, you're going to want to kind of start from the bottom, and we'll look at like obviously the open rate, the click-through rate, and the placed order rate. I think the main thing that we want to look at here is the placed order rate and the revenue that's generated from each and every single one of these emails, because that's really the North Star when it comes to looking at the overall performance of an email, is how much revenue is generated from that email. So we just want to kind of look through, and I'm actually doing this live with you on this account. But we just want to kind of look through and see which campaigns have actually produced the highest amount of revenue. So we can see this one's generated over $2,500 in revenue. We see this one's generated over $2,000. This one's generated $1,400, $1,500, $1,800, $1,900, $2,000. $1,400. So as we can see, like the highest performing campaigns for this account specifically are kind of in that 2,000 range. So we want to kind of identify, which campaigns are those. So this one's a holiday sale ends soon. This one is a new arrivals. This one is a love your journey sale extended, relax and recharge. And then we also have, spring fitness gear. So, with the purpose of repurposing some of these campaign emails back into some of your flow emails, we definitely don't want to inject some of the sales emails, just because you might not want to be running a sale, during a flow when someone is actually receiving that flow email, because it might be at different times of the year, and that specific sale just might not make sense for that specific time period that someone is going through a flow. What we've seen the best success with is actually injecting campaign emails that are more of like an educational based or value based email into some of your flow emails, because if you think about it, some of the best performing flows that you can run on your account are like the welcome series and the abandoned checkout, and potentially even the browse abandonment flow as well. And so we want to look at, based off of the campaigns that have performed well, which flows make sense to actually have some of these emails, and how can we best implement them, and where can we implement them in the email so that it best makes sense. So if you think about it, like a welcome series is really meant to kind of nurture and build trust and educate the customer about the brand and the product specifically. And so maybe, if you guys have any campaigns surrounding, value-based type of content, or, tips and tricks, or just like, products that are featured on your site, like best-selling collections, that sort of thing, that might be a great time to actually, that might be a great opportunity to actually implement that into the welcome series. Whereas, maybe you guys have some campaigns that you've launched that are more focused around social proof, or maybe you guys have been featured in the press, Maybe you guys are, you guys have sent content around some of the, testimonials and user-generated content that you guys have on your site. Well, then in that case, maybe it makes sense to actually incorporate that back into the abandoned checkout flow or the abandoned cart flow, just to really build that social proof. Because oftentimes when people are going through that abandoned cart or checkout flow, oftentimes it's just a matter of trust, or maybe pricing is an issue, or maybe they just, they want to see that other people have had a good experience, using your product. So that's actually a great opportunity to implement that back into the abandoned checkout flow. But going back into, the campaigns that have performed well for this account, recently we've launched a pregnancy workout campaign. So this is a really great value-based type of content email that has performed really well. This one's generated $1,400 and had a 58% open rate. And so what I want to do here is I actually want to go ahead and implement this back into this client's welcome series, because I think this could be a really, really valuable email that people should be, receiving. Because like I said earlier in the video, people that are currently going through the welcome flow, they will never see this pregnancy workout email ever unless we actually send a campaign email now that they're on the email list. So I hope that makes sense. People that are going through the flow email, they will never receive any of the campaign emails that you've previously launched before they actually entered the welcome flow. So in that case, what we'll go ahead and do is we will, the first step is you want to go into the campaign here, and you want to navigate to the 3 dots on the very right, and you want to click on clone, and you can just clone the campaign here. And the next step that you want to do is you want to go to continue to content. And we ran an A/B test here, but what you want to do is you just want to click on edit the email. So there's going to be a drop down here. So this will provide easy access for you to pull up this template when we go into the welcome series flow. So you want to go into save as a template, and we'll just title this pregnancy workout for now. And you want to save that as a template. And you can actually see the template right here. It says pregnancy workout with Strong by Sophia, deep core and pelvic floor breath work. There's a call to action to start the workout. And you can see that we also feature some of the main best-selling products of the store as well, with another call to action button. So again, I think this is a great email to add to the welcome series, just to provide extra value to the email list. So the next step that we want to do here is we want to go into your welcome flow. So I already have this pulled up. The welcome flow is right here. And so what we want to do is we want to actually add this email to the end of your welcome series. So I would say, your standard welcome series should have emails surrounding like education about the brand, education and value around the products, best-selling collections and products, the story of the founder, all that good stuff. You definitely want to, maintain what you have. Think of this as kind of more of supplemental and additional, or we want to add this in addition to, the welcome series that's already performing well. So, if you guys have a welcome series that contains 4 to 5 emails, you definitely want to keep that going. You don't want to change anything about that. Obviously, you can still optimize that flow, but you definitely want to be able to add more emails on top of that. So once people actually go through the standard welcome series, then at that point they will, go ahead and start to receive more value-based emails, which will help to nurture that specific customer or potential customer. So what we'll go ahead and do here is we'll add another time delay. I would definitely recommend every 2 days is a great cadence to send emails on the welcome series. And so set a time delay of 2 days, and then we will go ahead and add this to the end. And then what I'll go ahead and do is I'll just go ahead and add an email here. And so now at this point, this is where we want to add that pregnancy workout email that we just discussed. So here what we do is we go to select template, and we'll go to save templates. And the pregnancy workout template that we just saved should be right here. So we're going to click that. And we're going to click use template. And I just want to make sure everything is good to go. Everything is linking up properly here. And we're going to click save. And then for the subject line, we can obviously just use the same exact subject line that we did for the campaign email, just because people wouldn't have seen this exact email before, because they're a new profile that's going through this flow. So we can just use the same subject line and preview text here, and then you're going to click done. And then we'll just go ahead and make this live. And so voila, basically what we've gone ahead and done is we've looked back at previous campaigns that have had a proven history of producing a significant amount of revenue. And again, you can kind of decide for yourself which emails that you want to pick and choose from to put back into your flow. But what we went ahead and did is we looked at the best value nurture-based emails that have produced the highest amount of revenue, and looked at ways that we can actually put this back into a welcome flow that people are already receiving. So now this email here is part of the welcome flow. So now people are going to be going through this flow, and they're going to be receiving an email that has like a proven history of performing really, really well in terms of revenue. If you guys are looking for any help with email marketing, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to have a chat with you and talk through a little bit more about strategy. So thanks guys, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, so first things first, I want to introduce you guys to Paula. She's our email marketing designer for LTV Labs, and today she's going to be kind of diving in and doing a deep dive of creating some really, really high converting email marketing designs. So Paula, thanks for joining today. Can you give us a little bit of a background on, yourself? Yeah, what is some of your experience when it comes to email marketing and designs specifically?
I work with LTV Labs. I've been working with LTV Labs for like 5 years now, I think. Yeah, 5 years. And I used to work with other agencies, like 5 or 6 agencies at the time. And then, I met Steve and we started LTV Labs, and we started with a few clients, 2 or 3 clients. And then all of a sudden we were like a lot of clients all together, like all clients wanted to work with us, and that was extremely great. So I had to end the contracts with the other agencies. So I just stay with LTV, and very, very happy.
Cool. So diving into the email side of things, can you give me a little bit of a kind of a breakdown on like what you're planning to do on today's call?
I will start with a design that it's with a brand that is called Caracal. It's one of our brands. I think we have been working together for like a year now. I will do this email that it's called the Ultimate Summer Chocolate Experience, and I will start designing it, see if that's okay with you.
Before you actually start designing the email, I want to kind of explain to our viewers kind of the general hierarchy in terms of what actually makes a high converting email. So, when I say hierarchy, I mean like the order of importance. When they're viewing an email from top to bottom, the email just flows perfectly. We're, guiding people down and, showing them the call to action buttons and really driving them to, click the buttons within the email so they can go to the website and, finally make a purchase with us. And so on my screen right now, I'm actually going to be showing you a few different things that we follow and best practices that we follow in terms of copy and design. So that way we can make the most out of every single email that we generate. So first things first, we really want to ensure that important text, titles, discounts, and percentages are extremely visible, right? In the emails, anything that's important, we want to make sure it stands out to the user so that way it doesn't get missed. Because oftentimes a lot of brands send out emails, right, Cynthia, that don't convert very well because the most important part of the email isn't very bold and it's not very clear. Second thing is that the call to action buttons need to be big and clear. You want to have very big buttons, very big call to action buttons that actually stand out. And the email should also be skimmable. Like the main point should be coming across easily. No one wants to read like a long paragraph and spend hours and hours reading an email. So you want to make sure that, if someone opens their email like on their phone, they're easily able to kind of figure out what the main point of the email is. They're able to skim it, and they're able to kind of get the main idea out of that email just from glancing at it for a few seconds. The next thing is that there should be clear spacing and separations between the sections, because if you don't do that, then the whole email just seems very, very cluttered, and it's very difficult for someone to to kind of maneuver through the email, and the user interface just isn't as great as if, instead we kind of have separate sections that kind of lead people from section to section as if we're telling a story. I would say the most important part of the email is the hero section. The hero section is the most impactful, and so we always make sure to nail this. Do you want to talk a little bit about like the hero section and why you feel like that's important?
Yeah, sure. Actually, hero section is like the first thing that the client is going to see, especially like in mobile. It's like very small, so you have to be sure that this part is very engaging and eye-catching, of course. So yeah, maybe using GIFs or very good quality images with very good and big titles, subtitles, and call to action. Like immediately you open the email, it's very, very important. So yeah, we have to pay like extremely attention to that.
Yeah, and it's the first thing that people see actually too. So when they first open the email, the hero section is going to be above the fold, especially on mobile. And so it's really important that we make that part stand out. And that encourages people to go past the hero section and look at the other supporting sections. So generally, when we create copy, we follow a table that's very, very similar to this, where we have the subject lines, the preview text, the different sort of sections within the email. And so Cynthia typically like takes the copy from here and kind of transposes this into her design. So we have the subject line and preview text. Obviously, that's not part of the design, but we have above the fold. So we have the hero image, the headline. So that's going to be like your main, point of the email. Whatever you're focusing on the email, that's going to be the headline. Under that, we have the body copy. And then we also have the primary CTA button. And again, remember, this is all above the fold. We want to make sure that we definitely have a primary CTA button above the fold. So that way people are going to be able to click the email way more easily and be able to come to the website. Now, below the fold, we have the supporting content section, which is the main body copy. And then we have section number 2, which is the reviews and social proof. And then we have the section number 3, which is the product range and bestsellers. Now, the supporting sections can kind of vary from email to email, but in general, like best practices wise, you want to have the main body copy, which is like the main focus of the email. Really great idea to have reviews and social proof, because that's going to, instill trust and make customers feel confident enough that you're the right brand to go with. And then typically you also want to show some bestsellers and product showcases, because we want to lead people directly to products that they might be interested in and direct them directly to the product page. And then lastly, you want to have a secondary CTA and then a footer. Where do you feel like most brands out there, like make the biggest mistake when it comes to like designing the email? Like from other brands that you see, like what are some of the most common mistakes?
I think the hierarchy of the fonts and the call to actions are maybe too small or too big. Yeah, and well, the contrast between the background and the email design, or the contrast between I mean, in a design you have to give like a breathing part, we say in design. So everything should be separate and not all together, so as to give the people who is the person who is reading it like more time to process all the information. So yeah, like a good design is like inviting you and not screaming at you. So that's very important to have.
By the way, if you want me to run your email marketing on a done-for-you basis, just click the first link in the description to book a free call with me. We've already done this for over 150 plus e-commerce brands and have generated over $100 million in email revenue. We have also 30 plus client testimonials that you can check out on our site. And so yeah, I'm really looking forward to learning more about your brand and what we can do to help you out with your email marketing. Talk to you soon. What we'll do next is we'll dive into your screen now, and let's just build these emails live. So we'll do like a live walkthrough of an email for a brand that we work with. And if you want to, share your screen and provide any context before you start designing the email, that'd be perfect.
As I said before, I'm going to design a campaign for a brand that is called Curacao. This is the brand.
Yeah, and just for context, Curacao is a vegan chocolate brand that we work with. We've been working with them for over a year now, and yeah, they're super, super happy with us. One of the things that we really enjoy about this brand is that they provide a lot of image assets, right, Cynthia? Like they've invested pretty heavily in photo shoots and lifestyle images and product images. And, if you have an e-commerce brand right now and, you don't have many product images, that's okay because there's like obviously things like AI that you can use, but having, really good high quality photos of your products, maybe with different backgrounds, different ingredients, that sort of thing, that's going to elevate, the emails quite a bit more. It's going to be able to, allow your designer, whoever's designing your emails to really elevate the experience even more.
I'm going to design this email from scratch. So first of all, I'm using right now Illustrator, but I can use Figma too or Photoshop. I decided to use now Illustrator. So I start with the title. This brand is using Poppins as the main font. Well, I've actually copied the colors of the brand from the website that is here. These are the colors of the brand, and also I know this font is Poppins because if I go to inspection and then here I can see that it's Poppins, so
Awesome.
that's why I'm using that. Well, I've done this before the call because otherwise maybe it takes too much time.
Yeah.
What I do with this brand or with most of the brands is using menu bar because
Mhm.
they used to work very well in science. So maybe I'll paste everything. Of course, I can't use all of these because klaviyo doesn't accept that. But I'll just use maybe. I will delete this and maybe this.
So how long did it kind of take you to learn how to navigate through, a tool like Adobe Illustrator or Figma? Is it pretty was it pretty like hard for you to learn, or is it the learning curve pretty shallow?
Actually, it's kind of. I mean, it's not boring to learn design. I like you can learn and you don't even realize that you're learning because
Yeah.
it's like extremely well
You get
enjoyable. So I'll make this. Here is the hierarchy of the fonts that I talked about before. Use another one. Well, this is easier in Figma because you have all set here at the right. So, but then you have more things to do here. So it's like a balance. I'll add a background, a color background here. Yeah, I leave like a breathing space here, here, and here. So it's
nice.
not. Yeah.
It's not
No,
too it doesn't make it too cluttered, right?
yeah, sure. I mean, crowded emails are not
They're not
nice
fun.
to see. Yeah. I'm going to add now an image from here. This is the folder of the brand. I want to add this image because I want to add some GIFs at the very top of the email. And this image goes with the GIFs. I'll show you now. I won't do the GIFs here live because they take like a really long time, but I will show you.
Perfect. While we're kind of working at the on the top of this email, if you scroll up to the very top,
Here?
on that menu bar, like what makes you determine to use those menu items specifically? Because I know on the website they have multiple items. What made you chose to
Yeah.
use those?
Well, I can't use all of the items are on the website because of
Too
klaviyo.
much. Yeah.
I mean, I can use them, but it will be. I mean, it won't be nice on klaviyo. It will be like all crowded. So
Right.
I think for this brand, we talked with the clients, and they said especially what they wanted to use here on this
Right.
email. So that's why I'm using
And
it.
that's important to note. Like we take into consideration what's important to our client, and what pages we want people to lead them to. In the header section of the email. And so yeah, we got that direct feedback from the client, and then that's why we implemented those specific links in the menu.
So this is the gift I'm going to use for this email. I'm going to split it in two.
Love that GIF.
Yeah, me too. So
By the way, did you make that GIF or did the client provide that?
no, the client provided the gift. But I mean, I can't use it because it's 17 seconds, and I have to cut it split it, because Klaviyo doesn't accept that size. I mean, it'll be too heavy for Klaviyo, so I have to do 2 gifts for this.
Gotcha.
So this is the way the client is going to see this email. Of course, now these are PNGs and not GIFs, but then on Klaviyo there will be GIFs. So for the client to notice that these 2 are GIFs, I'll have to put or make a note for them to know that this is not static.
Yeah. So basically what Cynthia is saying is that these are two separate gifts. They're not going to look the same, but in order for the client to know that this is not 2 separate gifts, we're going to like write a little note on the GIF, because when the client, approves this email, they're not going to be able to see the GIF because it is a GIF, and we're basically presenting them a static image. But yeah, that's pretty much why that's that way. Sweet. So we have the hero section right there. So if you scroll up to the top.
So this is the hero section, like very big header. We mentioned before this has to be big because like it takes, I think, 2 or 3 seconds for the client to see this, or for the people who receive the email to open and see this, and it takes like 2 or 3 seconds to whether if the client of the recipients wants to scroll down or not. So that's why we have to make this.
Notice too, like how we have like you said, the text is nice and big and bold. The chocolate is nice and bold. Like we're calling out chocolate. That's like the main thing that this brand sells is chocolate. And then we have like a nice, clever headline, but chocolate, but make it cool. And then right underneath that, we have a really cool, vibrant image of someone pouring, the hot chocolate into the mug. This is a great lifestyle image to use as part of the hero image. And this really stands out to someone that's viewing it because, just the colors and the lifestyle and the kind of the someone's actual hand, pouring the chocolate into the mug. It just makes the email to stand out that much more. And it's going to perform really, really well. So
yeah, and psychologically for the person who is opening the email, like it grabs your attention. Like
that's the main thing. Yeah, the main thing is grabbing the user's attention within the first few seconds, and this hero does exactly that.
So I'm going to put this subheader here.
Yeah. And then we're also going to be adding a call to action button as well. Right, Cynthia?
Yeah. I put this call to action here at the very top of the email.
Perfect. Yep.
To do a call to action, I have to go to the web page and see how they are using the call to action, so we don't lose the identity of the brand. But just let me go to one of the products. So this is the call to action. I'll take a screenshot and do it exactly like that. I mean, I won't do it this long because I don't think it will work, but I'll do it like with rounded edges and everything.
Yeah. So really important note there. What Cynthia is doing is that she's using the brand colors from the website to design the call to action button. So that way everything stays congruent, right? When someone goes to the website for the first time, or anytime, we want to make sure that the emails that they're getting as a follow-up are actually congruent with the experience that they had. And that includes the brand identity, the colors, the fonts, the logos, the images, etc. And so that's why we're using this exact orange color. And also notice how, one thing that we're always going to stress in this video is that the call to action button, there should be one call to action button at the very top of the email in the hero section. So that way, that's the first thing that people see. So if someone wants to click on the button right away, as soon as they open the email, they're able to, and we want to make it, easily visible and easily available to be clicked.
So yeah, now we can continue with the rest here.
Yeah. And also quick note on the call to action button. Most call to action buttons that brands use are like shop now, order now, buy now, etc. Notice how this is like, it's more subtle, but it's actually branded with what the email is looking for. So chill with us, right? We want to kind of move away from generic copy and generic messaging. And so that's the reason why we have it like this.
I'll use uppercase because the brand is using uppercase and it works better.
For sure. So that goes into the congruency with like, you know, what the brand has on their website, because the brand has all uppercase, then we want to kind of, you know, use that same identity for the emails that we're creating. As another example, right, Cynthia, the other brand that we work with, Think Coffee, all of their call to action is lowercase, actually. Like not just everything on their website, all the buttons, all the links are all lowercase. And so we, you know, on our pop-up forms and on our designs, we do all lowercase, you know, text.
We have to respect that. If they are using all lowercase, we have to keep with that this decision, because we have to stick to the brand identity. So, yeah.
100%.
So now I'm going to do this part here again. The hierarchy of the text is very important. This part is 10% off. Is very, very important in the email. So I'm going to do it orange and big.
Yeah, because we want to make it stand out. So in this email, we're offering 10% off. So we really want to make sure that offer is front and center and that it's loud, and that it really stands out and grabs attention. Why do you put the lines there next to the plus? Is there an intentional reason for that?
No, I mean, maybe because look, if you do without the lines, it looks like kind of empty.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's pathetic.
Yeah, I like it with the lines. I'm just curious behind like your reasoning behind it, but yeah, it makes sense. I feel like with the lines, I feel like it adds a little bit more texture to the emails, and it kind of makes the 10% off stand out even more. Versus if you don't have, you know, the lines there, then it kind of all blends together and doesn't really stand out as much.
Well, we can add like a clock here because it's talking about 48 hours.
Right.
Oh, we can leave like this, or we can add a clock, and maybe I'll try to add one right now.
Cool. And what is the artboard studio that you're using? Is that like an app that you can get like designs and things?
Yes, I can. I mean, all the assets for the designs, I take them from here. Like we have like a lot of things to use, and that's great. It's really, really great to have. I mean, it's a really good tool to have.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like they have like a lot of different like icons and like and things like that.
Very, very good quality. Like
very good quality, yeah.
Yeah, and you can have like a top view or front view. It depends on the design that you're doing.
Awesome.
So I choose this one because it's minimal. I don't want to be using too much. Although small, maybe I don't use it. I just want to see how it looks.
Yeah, so that looks good. Like little icons. Whenever you can, you know, use icons to really, you know, illustrate what the messaging is on the email. And you know, another option too, Cynthia, for brands when there's like a discount that's being offered with a limited time, you can put a countdown timer as well, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we can do, or maybe a GIF. We work too.
GIF or a countdown timer. That really helps to kind of pop out and instill that urgency for sure.
Yeah, here I have. We can cut this because I have to redo this and I'm not trying to do that. So I will use this code. So now is the code part.
Really important that the discount code is extremely visible, and so using this this dashed border with the scissors is going to be really important to make sure that stands out and the code is visible.
Now is the time of the call to action, I think. Yeah.
Nice. So we have the same call to action button, and we have the orange color for that button as well, and all uppercase as well.
And as you can see, this is like an inverted pyramid that leads to the call to action. It's narrowing, and it's psychologically leading the recipient to the call to action.
You're basically saying that it's like an inverted pyramid, so someone's eyes are kind of being narrowed down to that call to action button, right?
Yes, sure. See, I said, so it's like this.
Yep.
It's calling the client.
So pay close attention to what Cynthia is showing on her screen right now with this triangle. Basically, we're guiding users' eyes to go from the very top text all the way down to the bottom to that call to action button. Can you kind of dive into a little bit more detail on that triangle and how that works? Yeah.
We use this to drive the recipient to the call to action. Like, I mean, it's a strategy we use for everything that we design. It's a strategy. I mean, it has been studied that DI works like this, like from the very top of this part, then, well, actually from the very top of this part, it's like a pyramid, inverted pyramid that leads you to the CTA. So it leads the client to click here.
Yeah, so subconsciously we're guiding people's eyes directly to where we want to lead them, which is that call to action button, right?
Well, now I will start with the text. That's why I divided. I mean, the colors are different.
So this is going back to what I was saying earlier about, the different sections that are supposed to be separated. Now, Cynthia, if we were to keep the same color background for both the top and the bottom, then everything's all going to be kind of looking like it's all part of one, all one big, cluster, which is what we don't want. We want to guide people's eyes. Okay, the first section is done. Now we go into the next section. Now we go into the next section. So it's almost as if we're guiding people to the next section, and it's easy on the eyes to view, rather than if everything's the same background color, then everything just kind of looks blended together and really, really cluttered.
Yeah, sure. And boring to the eye too.
Boring to the eye, 100%.
Okay, so here I have to design 3 different parts of the email that are going to show some products. So all of them, like the 3 of them, has to be the same, but in different copies and images, of course. I will use some shadows here to give perspective.
Awesome. Why is it important to give perspective and use those shadows?
It will give rhythm to the email. Like, yeah, the main thing is going to add rhythm to the email.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited to see what that looks like as you implement it.
Okay, so for this part, I did this part because otherwise it will take like a lot of time. Just a second.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I did them manually. This part I added shadow and it takes time. So I'll start again from here.
Notice how Cynthia is using an image of one of the products and like the ingredients that are going into it. Why is that important, Cynthia, to include that image right there on the side?
Because it gives, I mean, it's good for the recipient to see the product, like how it looks like. Also, it's chocolates. Who doesn't like chocolates?
Who doesn't love chocolate? Who doesn't love chocolate? Yeah, I mean, just looking at this email myself, like when I see the chocolate, I'm like actually craving it. And, little psychological triggers like that actually make people want to buy from you. And when they see the email, they're going to want to buy from you right away. So it's really great that we're able to have some pretty delicious looking ingredients here.
Everything that it's designed has to be centered, because otherwise it loses balance.
Right. I was gonna say that centering of the call to action button is what keeps everything like flowing nicely, and everything looks balanced. If you have call to the action buttons that are like all over the place, that are like some on the left, some on the right, it just doesn't flow visually as nice as you want them to.
Also, this part should be centered, because if I put this here, it leaves like a lot of green space here.
Yeah.
So I have to center this, and I do it like that, and it's ready.
Yeah. That's a good point. Pretty much everything needs to be balanced in the email, each and every single section. The call to action buttons, the sections, the body, the header, etc. And notice as well how we're actually using different call to action buttons throughout the email, right? We have come chill with us. We have take a sip. We have cool down now. We have a lot of different call to action buttons, because some call to action buttons might resonate with different types of subscribers. So we really want to kind of have a variety of call to action buttons that are on brand, but also compelling enough for someone to actually click on the email. Yeah, so melt the chocolate, dip your favorite fruit in it, put it in the fridge or ice cold water, then enjoy it. Yeah, so if you have a product that complements other foods or other types of ingredients, This is a great way to kind of, add some color and add some life into the email. And you can use, icons like this, with the app that Cynthia said she's using. What was it called again? Art Studio?
Artboard Studio, yeah.
Art Studio. Perfect.
Yeah. So I think here we should have another one.
Yep, another call to action button. Yeah, you can never really have too many call to action buttons. We always want to give people an opportunity to actually click on the email, at different touch points. So, frozen chocolate dipped fruit, the hot chocolate, et cetera, et cetera. There's always an opportunity for someone to actually click on the email and buy, that specific product.
As we are starting a new part, I think, yeah.
Yep.
We can use another background color. I mean, the same color, but.
So it's okay to use the same, background color, but you just don't want to do it in repeatable, like subsequent sections. You want to kind of mix it up so that way each section is pretty much separated.
Yeah, I mean, we can use the same background color here, but we have to do something to make the recipients notice that we are doing. I mean, this is a different part.
Cool. The email is looking really, really great, Cynthia, so far.
So I'm going to add some products here randomly. Well, we have like too many ways to show products. Like we can do like a grid this way and just do it like this. But this time I'll do something different just because of the look and feel of the email.
In general, Cynthia, what do you find is the best way to present products? Like in the product section where we're showcasing maybe like 3, 4, 5, 6 bestsellers.
Maybe
what is the best way to present it?
I think maybe this way is very good because it shows you more products at the same. I mean, at first glance, you can see more products at once.
Mm-hmm.
But now I want to do something different just because I want the client to see what's inside of every product that I'm going to show. So because I mean, we have already done this grid for a cow, this grid that I'm showing right now. We have already done that. So I wanted to do something different for this email, and I wanted to show you the ingredients of every, I mean, not of every, but of the products that I'm going to show now. So, nice. Okay, I'm going to use these bars.
Awesome. So we're showing actual hazelnuts because they're offering hazelnut chocolate bars. So we're actually showing the nut in which the chocolate was made from. And yeah, I mean, that goes a long way because people can actually see the raw ingredients that were made and used to develop this product, which is great. So just out of curiosity, Cynthia, from start to finish, how long does it typically take to create an email like this? Obviously, every email is different because there's different images, there's different like a different copy, things like that. But for an email like this, for example, let's say that you didn't previously have any of these assets and you're building it from the beginning from scratch. How long on average would you say that it takes you?
Maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes, or an hour. It depends on the length of the email, and yeah.
So if you're a designer like Cynthia, it might take you as little as 45 minutes, but if you don't have too much experience with email designs, like myself, I'm not like an expert designer like Cynthia is, but it can often, I'm sure something like this can often take maybe 2 to 3 hours, right, Cynthia, if you don't have too much experience.
Or more.
With designing, or more. Probably for me, probably take like 5 or 6 hours. Can you talk a little bit too about why it's important for the client to send assets like image assets and branding assets and that sort of thing?
Well, it's important because first of all, it gives like the impression of, I mean, if you are using high quality images, it gives the impression of premium emails and not spam or cheap emails. So I mean, it's important to have very good quality images because of that. Also, it's important to have lifestyle images because it's good to see how people, maybe here because it's chocolate, but if you have a brand like clothing brand, maybe it's good to see how people is using that clothes. So lifestyle imagery is very important too. Also the logo, and if you have a brand guide, it would be amazing. The logo is important, the fonts. Even though I can take those from the website, it'll be like very helpful for me to have everything from the very beginning. But yeah,
definitely. A lot of the quality of like what the email looks like does, a lot of it does come down to the type of images that are provided by our clients. And so we always value when clients are able to provide us with really high quality images, and, if they invest in lifestyle imagery and that sort of thing, because that's going to elevate the look and feel of the email. Obviously, Cynthia, you do a great job of making the emails look premium and elevated, but also a big part of that too is like making sure that the actual product images themselves are, displaying nicely and they look aesthetic. So all in all, everything kind of comes together, right? Great product images with great designs. And that's what sort of builds a premium looking email.
Like everything has to be the same. If I have this space here, it should be the same here. So there we go. It has to be aligned, this part with this part, and this part with this part. Also, the space between these two cards should be the same, like everything.
Right. So everything is basically like in this email, everything is very balanced and falls in line with, previous elements in the email. And that kind of makes the email flow, and it makes it visually very, very attractive to look at.
So I have chosen, because I have a lot of options on Artboard Studio to choose from, but I chose everything like kind of a recipient with the ingredients and then the ingredients.
Yeah, I see what you mean now with the shadow, adding the shadows in there. That those shadows weren't already included with that image, right? You added those yourself?
No, from Artboard Studio, they are all with the images, but then I cannot, like in these cards, I edit myself.
Ah, okay, very cool. Yeah, that shadow gives it makes it like it makes it feel like that bowl of blueberries is actually there. Kind of makes it stand out quite a bit too. It looks 3D almost. See, a lot of this, guys, is a lot of trial and error. So, right, there's like certain images that might look good, and there's other images that might not look as good. So, kind of just have to play around with it and trial and error, see what looks best for the email and best for the brand. Nice. I really like that image.
Yeah, it's really nice. I'm going to make it bigger and taller, just because I can't write or put anything on the top of this image because it will be too crowded. So I have to do this.
Nice. I really like the gradient. It kind of blends, from beige color directly into that purplish background color. Looks really good. Yeah, it's like small little things like that gradient that really elevates the look and feel of the email, rather than everything just being the same, solid color. Now it really just like looks very premium, especially with the ingredients as well. So this is our secondary call to action button. It's going to be half chocolate the cool way, and it's going to be like our last call to action button that people can click on in order to get to the website and place an order right away.
Now I'm going to finish with the footer. If I have to take that from the website. Some brands do that. They do the footer darker.
So we're basically only using like the main links in the footer, like the things that actually would matter in the email.
I took a screenshot and pasted it here, but because I have to look for the icon in SVG for Facebook and Instagram, and it will take me time. But of course, this is a placeholder.
Cool. So company policy, shipping policy, Prop 65 policy, privacy policy, terms and conditions, and then we have the footer, and then we have follow us. So basically encouraging people to follow you guys on social media, so that way they can reach you guys on other channels. So yeah, Cynthia, let's take a look at the overall email. Obviously everything came out really, really beautiful. So let's start from the top and kind of walk through what makes this email convert so well. But before we do that, like, can you explain like what separates like a premium looking email from like a very cheap, cheap brand? Like what is a premium looking email What kind of elements does a premium looking email have?
This hierarchy in the fonts, the call to actions, because if I make them like really big, like this, it'll be cheap, and this is good, this is not good. So I would say balance.
Balance, yeah.
Is very important.
Balance.
Yeah, it's very harmonic, organic. As I said before, this kind of emails invites us. And
yeah, so we have the main, you know, heading right here, which is chocolate but make it cool. So that's kind of our main hero heading that's going to stand out. That's going to be the main purpose of the email, right? And then we also have the main call to action button, which is chill with us. That's going to be directly above the fold. It's going to be one of the first things that people see when they click the email on mobile. Then we have the hero image, right? The hero image is going to be showing, you know, the product in action. In this case, you know, it's someone pouring the hot chocolate. This is a great lifestyle image that the client provided us. We have the product image in the background, some nice plant elements. Really just is a vibrant image to use as a hero image. These are the type of images that you definitely would want to have. And then below that, we have a couple of GIFs, right? It's a couple of GIFs in this email. That's going to have like a visual kind of playful element where it's going to attract the user's eye. You know, there's going to be a little bit of motion and movement. That's going to be great. And just to be clear, these aren't two, you know, duplicate GIF images. It's going to be two separate GIFs that we're going to be using. So we have the GIF section right here. And then if you scroll down a little bit, we have the first sort of body section, which is discover ways to enjoy chocolate in the summer. So we're offering 10% off in this email. This is a promotional based email. So the body section is kind of focused on giving that discount, right? So discover ways to enjoy chocolate in the summer, plus 10% off every bite. So the plus and every bite are kind of like the complimentary text. And notice how the discount is the only thing that's bold and orange, right? We have the 10% off, and also the call to action button right here is orange as well. And then we have like a nice clock image to show that, you know, it's available for the next 48 hours. You can also use a timer as well if that works. And then, yeah, we have the code. The code is nice and big, nice little cutout with the scissors. So we're basically portraying that this is a coupon, right, that people can use and apply at the checkout. And again, a call to action button. The call to action button is super, super important to implement in the email and throughout the email. And then if you scroll down, Cynthia, a little bit more. Yeah, this would be like the bridge section. So chocolate and summer don't mix sometimes unless you do it right. Here's how to enjoy chocolate in the summer the cool way. So we're providing some value and some education around how people can actually enjoy chocolate in the summertime when it's hot, right? So you can have it straight from the fridge. Another call to action button that says cool down now. And if you scroll down, Cynthia, cool down with the smoothie. So you can mix chocolate in a smoothie for extra chocolatey and delicious indulgence. That'll definitely cool you down. And then the call to action button, have a sip. So that relates directly back to the actual, you know, item that we're showing here. And then we also have the frozen chocolate dipped fruit. We're showing this, you know, this drink right here that looks delicious, by the way. And then we have like fruits right here, like the strawberries and the blueberries, really just showcasing some of the ingredients that, you know, one might use as they're enjoying this drink. And we also have another call to action button that says chill out now. So now here's where we have the product section. So this is going to be really important to kind of showcase some of the best selling products that, you know, your brand offers. So in this case, we have Let's Chill. We have a little bit of text, not too much, but we have the hazelnut chocolate bars, which is a bestseller. And if you scroll down, we have the Berkeley bar vegan chocolate. So you can also see the image of the almonds and the hazelnuts up above. We also have the sea salt almond vegan chocolate, 81%. We're showing the product image and also the sea salt that they're using. And then we also have the cacao fruit chocolate, if you scroll down. So images of some blueberries, cacao fruit, and dark chocolate. So again, this product section is really just displaying what are the best sellers. If someone clicks on each of the individual box, they'll be taken to the product page, right, Cynthia?
Yes.
Last but not least, we have a secondary call to action button that says have chocolate the cool way. And, you know, that perfectly blends into another, you know, lifestyle image where we have multiple ingredients. We're showcasing the quinoa crunch milk chocolate. Nice little purple background with different ingredients that are showcased. And then we finally have the footer section, right? So all in all, this is a really, really high converting email. You know, everything flows perfectly. We have the hero section, body section. We have multiple supporting sections, product images. different lifestyle images throughout the email. So, this is a really, really high converting email, Cynthia. And yeah, it was built, pretty efficiently by you. Obviously, you have a lot of experience using Adobe Illustrator and Figma, but as kind of a last piece of advice, what kind of advice would you leave people that are, that are brands that want to elevate their designs or want to get, similar looking designs as this? Like, is there any sort of piece of advice you can leave them?
Well, imagery is very important to have. Like with good images, I mean, the designer can do magic. If if we don't have good imagery, then we have to use AI. I mean, AI is good, but it's not that good. I mean, if you have product images, lifestyle images, that would be totally amazing and totally different than using AI. So that's very important. This brand has a lot of really good assets, so I can play around with them and I can do whatever I want because I have everything I need to create a good design.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's great. That's a great piece of advice to leave with. So again, just to sum up, you really want to have good product images as a source to start with. You want to use different icons and sort of, visual elements like Cynthia did with the fruit as an example. You want to showcase best-selling products. You want to make sure that the call to action buttons are spread out throughout the email and that you have many of them and you're showing them early. And yeah, overall, if you follow everything that, we've shown in this video, you're going to see a very, very high conversion rate on your emails because everything just flows, everything is balanced. And most importantly, it represents the brand in the way that it should be represented. So yeah, thanks for your time, Cynthia. This is great. And I'll talk to you soon. In this video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to set up SMS in Klaviyo the right way. We'll cover getting your number, collecting subscribers, and adding SMS to your existing flow so it actually makes you money without annoying your customers. All right, let's get into it. First thing I want to kind of talk about is why SMS matters in the first place. Well, think about it, right? SMS gets a 90% open rate versus 40% for email, right? I remember reading a statistic a couple of years ago saying, as soon as someone gets a text message on their phone, they're pretty much reading it within the first 10 seconds, whether or not they respond to the message or not. People are just glued to their phones, this day and age. And so that's why it's so vital to really capitalize on SMS for your brand. And like I said, less than 5 minutes to open. I wouldn't be surprised if it's, within the first 10 seconds. So SMS basically gives you a direct line to your customer's pocket, but it's also easy to kind of mess it up and annoy people because I think a lot of brands, they send text messages way too much, like way too often. Maybe they send it 3, 4, 5 times a week. SMS and just text messaging in general is a very sort of personal, kind of intrusive type of channel. And you really want to be strategic and tactful in terms of who you send it to and like when you choose to send these text messages. But if you do it right and you do it, you send it the right way along with the right messaging and the right timing, it can be really, really effective. And so getting into the setup here's an overview of what we're going to be covering in this video. We have getting your SMS number set up in Klaviyo as the first step, obviously. Number 2 is collecting SMS subscribers the right way. And then number 3 is adding SMS to your existing flows. So part 1 is going to be setting up your SMS number. So the first step you're going to do is you're going to go into Klaviyo and then go into settings and then click on SMS. And I'll actually share my screen with you right now so I can dive into that. All right, so I'm in a Klaviyo account right now. Let's pretend that this is your account. So what you're going to do is you're going to navigate over to the bottom left, and then you're going to go to settings here. And when you get into the settings, you're going to go to text message right here. It'll say account, billing, email, text message. And so basically in order to get SMS set up on your account, you're going to have to establish a sending number. So this is like the number that people are going to see when you send messages to them. Just basically go ahead and add country. So obviously, if you're based in the US, go ahead and click add country and then add the United States. It's going to set up a toll-free number for you. And then click next, and then just follow all the steps. You want to make sure your company information is right. So organization name, street address, country, etc. Once all of this stuff is set up, it's very easy to do. Klaviyo is just going to basically walk you through it. But again, you're going to go to settings, text message, add country. And basically from there, typically takes around 2 to 4, maybe even a little bit longer in terms of business days to get your toll-free number set up on Klaviyo. But once it's set up for life, and you can basically start sending text messages at that point. So that's exactly how you're going to be able to set up SMS on your Klaviyo account. Obviously, you're going to be able to choose your sending number. You're going to have to verify your business, set up compliance defaults, which is all going to be sort of handled for you on the Klaviyo side. Now, before we actually move even further, I wanted to kind of mention my free resource. If you guys haven't already heard of it, I have an email revenue playbook. It's 126 pages long, covering everything you need to know about email, e-commerce, email marketing. So list growth, deliverability, flows, campaign, A/B testing, everything in extreme detail to really maximize your email revenue, get it to that 40 to 50% plus mark. So the link is actually in the description to download it for free. So that's completely free, 126 pages long. Hope you enjoy that. Now, part 2 is collecting SMS subscribers. So first step is you want to add an SMS field to your existing pop-up, and you also want to keep it optional. Obviously, you don't want to force it. You don't want to make people feel like they have to enter their phone number, and you want to offer the same incentive as email typically. And then as far as compliance goes, they must opt in separately. So what this looks like on the Klaviyo side of things, if you go into the sign up forms, and I'll show you what this sort of looks like on a desktop pop-up form. You watch some of my other videos, I highly recommend doing like a 2 or 3 step pop-up where you're asking them a question similar to this, like before we move on, what's your biggest pain point? And then 4 different answers. We want to have a nice image there. And then we're going to be collecting their email, claim 10% off your first order. And so with the SMS, it's going to be an additional 3rd step to your pop-up form. Yeah, finish signing up for 10% off. And this is really critical, by the way. Like I'll create a separate video around pop-ups, but we want to make it seem like the SMS is not forcing it, but it's like almost it's a necessity in order to kind of complete the pop-up form and get the incentive, the 10% off, because they might be entering their email here and thinking that they're going to be claiming 10% off, which they still will, but we want to make it seem like they have to finish signing up in order to get that incentive. And we found that we've gotten much higher SMS conversion rates when we're able to use this sort of language where it's like, hey, it's not done yet, you still have to finish your pop-up in order to get the discount. And so yeah, we have the finish signing up. This is where we collect the phone number. Really important that this phone number is actually connected to, or the CTA is going to be connected to the proper list. So in this case, it should be SMS, the SMS LTV SMS list, because SMS list and email list should be 2 separate things. And then when we talk about the disclaimers, really important that we have this part set up as well. Klaviyo is going to be automatically adding this into the form once you actually click add SMS. So if you click add step, you can just do like a blank step right here and then basically add this in. But essentially, once you add the phone number, if you go into ad blocks, once you add a phone number, yeah, it's not available right now because I've already added it, but once you add that phone number, I'm going to add a disclaimer right here. And in this disclaimer, you want to go ahead and update this to reflect your company information. So you want to put your brand name right here. You also want to add in your privacy policy and your terms. You're just going to go ahead and link it individually right here. And then you should be good to go as far as compliance. And this is going to be the biggest way that not only you're going to be able to collect emails, but also SMS at the same time as well. So again, highly recommend that you add this step here to your existing pop-up. Now, in terms of the next step, so as far as best practice goes, obviously I already showed you this. So step 1 is the email. Step 2 is the SMS. And this isn't included in here, but obviously the step before this is kind of step 0, which is, asking them a question regarding your brand or a specific pain point that they have. So 2 to 3 step pop-up typically works the best. Now, part 3 is adding SMS to the flows. And so the flows that we want to actually add SMS to is the welcome series, the abandoned checkout, the browse abandonment, and the customer win back, and also the VIP flow as well. So I actually have a flow chart here, which I'll show you. So this is the flow chart. This is the LTV Labs email profit blueprint, but we also added in some SMS here as well. So that way you can see kind of everything laid out visually. You can see each and every single flow, the pre-purchase flows and the post-purchase flows right here. So you can actually see we have SMS reminders for the abandoned checkout, the cart abandonment, browse abandonment, welcome series, and then also the VIP flow and the customer win back flow. So you'll see like these are all the different emails and the different time delays between the emails. And then the SMS reminder is basically going to be sent alongside the last email of the sequence. So if this email, for example, right here is sent on day 3, then we're going to send this SMS exactly at the same time. And by the way, if you guys want access to this entire document, just write a comment on this video and I'm happy to link it to you. But yeah, basically this whole document covers everything that you need to know as far as the flows, the different emails that you need, the time delays, everything that you need basically. So yeah, going back into this doc here. So you want to add SMS to each of these different flows. So SMS in the welcome series is what I'm going to cover next. So you're going to send one text that's going to be sent alongside email number 1, right? So when someone opts in for the first time, they're going to be entering their email and their phone number. So we want to make sure we're sending both, and we're going to include the same exact discount. So just an example of this is like, hey, thanks for joining brand, save 10% off with code welcome on your first purchase, shop now with the link, right? This discount doesn't have to be welcome. It can be really anything. But again, we want to make sure that it's congruent with the same sort of percentage or incentive that you guys are already offering. Now, text number 2. So this is going to be sent inside the welcome series, but it's going to be sent at the very end alongside the last email. So if you watch some of my other content, you'll see that like the last email that I recommend sending in the welcome series is actually a plain text email from the founder. And you actually see that right here as well. So wherever it has like a handwriting emoji, that just means that I recommend doing a plain text email, but we're going to be sending an SMS reminder alongside this email number 6. So basically going back here, an example of a message here could be like, hey, final call, 15% off with code founder waiting for you. Join thousands of happy customers with the shop now link, and then link them back directly to your website. So that's the first flow that I'd recommend setting SMS up for. There's going to be 2 SMS in that flow specifically. Now, the second flow I recommend is the SMS in abandoned checkout flow. So that is going to be sent alongside the last email, which is email number 4 in this case. And again, that's a plain text founder email. I'm huge on plain text founder emails, by the way. Strategic way to humanize the brand and make customers feel like they're not just shopping from a huge corporation, but from someone that actually cares. I'm sure you do about your brand. So just as an example of this, don't lose your cart. Code mystery saves you up to 30% off. Check out now. So again, one thing that you're probably realizing is that these messages aren't anything fancy, right? They're just like maybe one small sentence relating back to the offer. Really, the purpose of this isn't to do anything too fancy or crazy or make someone like read for minutes and minutes. We actually just want them to glance on this text message and just get a gentle nudge or reminder that, hey, this is just a reminder that I need to go back and complete my purchase. So that's SMS and abandoned checkout and browse abandonment. Very, very similar. We're going to send that alongside email number 3 and include the same discount code. So example, still browsing, save 10% off with code LUCKY10 on your order today with a shop now link. Guys, you can literally just copy and paste these exact text messages. This is exactly like the type of message that I would send and that works and converts insanely well. And literally just copy it word for word and obviously just change it out to your links and your brands and everything. But this is going to be extremely powerful for you guys. The next one is SMS and customer winback. That's going to be sent alongside the final winback email. So an example of this would be, hey, we miss having you around. Use code discount now before it disappears. Come back and save, and then a link. And then lastly, the SMS in the VIP flow. So that's going to be sent alongside when customers hit VIP status with their 5th order. And again, VIP status is kind of subjective. So some brands, it could be based off their 3rd order, some brands 5th order, some brands you can even base this off revenue lifetime value. So one example of this could be like, hey, your VIP status equals special perks. Use code, VIP20, for example, anytime to enjoy your reward, the little smiley face, tap to redeem with a link back to your website. So that's pretty much it in terms of like the actual flow setup. Very simple to do. If you were to, go into your flows, you would simply let me just exit out of here, go into the flows. And if I go into like, for example, like an abandoned checkout flow, all you would need to do, and we don't have that SMS set up for this brand, but all you would need to do is you just go into the actions here, you go into text message, you just insert it, you go to edit the content, and you literally can just, put the content in there. Super simple. And if I go back into the actual flow, you want to make sure smart sending is turned off, because we don't want to miss out on not sending messages to people that might have received an email recently or another message in general. So we want to turn that off. And then we also want to enable text message quiet hours. So, this by default, make sure that messages are not sent from 8 p.m. to 11 a.m. In general, we just want to be respectful of people's schedules and time, and we don't want to send odd messages at odd times. So yeah, generally we want to send it outside of that window. So enable text message for quiet hours. And yeah, and then the last thing is obviously you want to add a filter. If someone can receive, and instead of email marketing, you want to do SMS marketing, and then you just hit save, and then you're good to go there. So that's pretty much how you set up SMS marketing for your flows. Now, in terms of best practices, the text message itself, as you probably noticed, you want to keep it as short as possible, because the more characters and the more words that you have in the message, the more credits that it's going to use up on Klaviyo, and the more that you're going to be billed and charged by Klaviyo. So you want to keep it impactful, you want to keep it concise, you want to keep it short, and you want to, you don't want to pay an arm and a leg just to send out a few text messages. So in general, you want to keep it under 160 characters. That's a great rule of thumb. You always want to include a link, so that way if someone can click, whether it's, if it's a abandoned checkout, you want to link them back to their checkout page. If it's cart, you want to link them back to the cart. If it's the welcome series, you can link them back to the homepage or like a best-selling collection type of page, that sort of thing. Obviously, you want to match the discount to the email, because it'd be weird if someone got an email saying, hey, last chance to use your 10% off code, and then the SMS says 20% off. Just to kind of keep things congruent throughout the brand, it'll be good to keep the message and the discount the same. Don't oversend, maybe 1 or 2 SMS per flows max. Because you have SMS in every single flow, There might be some people that receive multiple SMS across different flows. So you just want to be mindful of that. And the way that I have things set up, like people are not going to be over messaged through text messaging. And you also want to time it with your strongest email in each flow. So for example, the last email of each flow is kind of like the Hail Mary, kind of the last call. By the way, if someone places an order within any of those like abandonment flows that we talked about, they're already going to be taken out of the flow anyway. So you don't have to worry about like over messaging them. So they're only going to be sent a text message only if they have not converted yet in that specific flow. And that's just basically how we have like the behaviors and the trigger set up. All of this is in the 126 page document, by the way, once you download it. And so, yeah, overall, the key takeaways is SMS has 90% plus open rate, so you definitely don't want to ignore it. You want to capitalize on people's addictions to their phones. You want to collect SMS through the pop-up. So 2-step typically works best, or in general, a 3-step. So step 0 would be collect some first-party data, such as like what they're interested in or what their pain point is. Step 2 would be collecting their email, and then step 3 would be collecting their SMS. Again, you want to have it on multiple different steps because that's going to improve your conversion rate. And you want to add SMS to your existing flows. Don't create separate SMS only flows. I would only recommend that for the welcome series, just because sometimes it kind of gets a little finicky if you try to include it with the welcome series. So I recommend splitting up the welcome series only for that first message, and then pair SMS with your highest converting emails, keep messages short and include the same offer. And that's the main thing. And so, yeah, last but not least, get that full playbook, right? It's in the description. It's completely free. It's 126 pages long, covers everything that you need to know about email marketing. And yeah, if you need help implementing all of this, I'm here for you, right? Like you can just book a free strategy call with me. We can just have a simple conversation about what you're currently doing with your email channel, and I'll map out exactly what your store needs completely for free. So you can book a call. The link is in the description as well. But yeah, go run that SMS. So there you have it. The email strategies that we've used to generate over $100 million across the 150 plus e-commerce brands that we've worked with. Now, if you want to go even deeper on this, like I said, you can go ahead and download my email revenue playbook using the link in the description. 126 pages of everything I know about email marketing. The same information that you'd get from a paid course, well, I'm giving it away for free. And if you want to know exactly what's holding back your brand specifically when it comes to email marketing, well, there's a link in the description to also book in a call directly with me. I'll audit your account, tell you exactly what needs to be fixed, and let you know if you're a good fit or not for our system. But honestly, I don't care if you click either of those links. I just hope that you got value from this video and now have a clear understanding of what email marketing can actually do for your brand if you do it right. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.